Nigeria at 60-year-long celebrations continue. Vice President Oshibajo, a proud driver of first made in Nigeria electric car.
Our efforts bringing peace and security to that zone is only with peace and security that all other developments, all other requirements, can be looked into.
Army increases presence in Ebonyi State as House of Representatives takes up Army Chief on security situation in Nigeria. Plus, caring for the elderly, government plans big as the world recounts their plans. Hello, good evening and welcome to NTN Network News. I am Joseph Johnson in Abuja. Adiola Komiakere will give us updates from Lagos a little later. President Muhammadu Buhari has spoken on the need for countries in the West African sub-region and the Sahel bedeviled by challenges of security to team up and confront the menace. The president said this while receiving the new special representative of the UN Secretary General for West Africa and the Sahel, Mr. Mohamed Saleh Al-Nadif. State House correspondent Anabu Sambo reports.
Mohamed Saleh Al-Nadif, HRDN, took over from Mohammed Ibn Chambers, who served in the same capacity for 7 years. Mr. Al-Nadif told President Muhammadu Buhari that he is visiting Nigeria shortly after his appointment because he recognized the crucial role of Nigeria in West Africa. He says he is quite familiar with the problems of the Sahel region and would depend on the help of Nigeria to succeed. President Muhammadu Buhari expresses the belief that the United Nations Special Representative has vast experience on matters affecting the region, having served for 5 years in Mali. He hopes that Mr. Al-Nadif will get the countries in the sub-region to work together towards confronting the issues affecting them. Describing the problems as enormous, the president knows that Boko Haram in particular has inflicted heavy toll in terms of lives and resources in Nigeria and some neighboring countries, while Mali has a large swath of the country occupied by militants. The president pledges the assistance of Nigeria to the special representative to enable him get the problem sorted out and achieve the desired success in his assignment. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTN News.
And the federal government has promised to sustain efforts at boosting the development of Nigeria's abundant gas resources, strengthening the gas value chain, developing the much-needed infrastructure, and enhancing safe operations in the sector, as outlined in the National Gas Policy of 2017. President Muhammadu Buhari, who made the promise, said the government is also determined to leverage on the Decade of Gas initiative to transform the country into a major gas and industrialized nation. This was during the virtual groundbreaking ceremony of NLNG Train 7 project in Bonny Rivers State. Again, State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the report.
The story of Nigerian LNG is one I have been passionately associated with during the formative years of the LNG project. As Minister of Petroleum Resources, I kicked off our first foray in LNG business in 1978.
From just one project in the early 90s, President Muhammadu Buhari described as delightful that the LNG has now been transformed into a very successful company, providing responsible operations and steadily supplying, amongst others, liquefied natural gas and liquefied petroleum gas into the global market. This, he said, is proof that Nigeria has great capacity to deliver value to the world by harnessing her natural resources.
I am proud that NLNG, as a pioneer of LNG company in Nigeria, has conscientiously proven the viability of the gas sector over the years, currently contributing about 1% to our country's GDP. NLNG has generated 114 billion United States dollars in revenues over the years, paid 9 billion United States dollars in taxes, $18 billion United States dollars in dividends to the federal government and $15 billion United States dollars in feed gas purchase. These are commendable accomplishments by a company's 100% Nigerian management team.
With this level of performance, the president hopes that the Nigeria LNG continues to grow to effectively position the country to thrive through the energy transition. The commencement of work on the construction of the Train 7 project, he said, is a further indication that a Nigerian company can operate a world-class business.
I look forward to the development and execution of more gas projects by the international oil companies and the indigenous operators, and more trains from Nigeria LNG to harness the over 600 trillion cubic feet of proven gas reserves we are endowed with. I hereby urge the Board of Directors, management and staff of LNG, the host communities, the River State government, and agencies of the federal government to continue to collaborate to ensure completion and eventual commissioning of the Train 7 project safely and on time so that Train 8 can start.
The president, who thanked foreign investors for the confidence reposed in Nigeria, promised that the federal government will continue to create the enabling environment towards developing the sector and bringing the full benefits of gas closer to the people of Nigeria. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Let's show you something fantastic now, because the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo test drives the first ever made in Nigeria electric car. This was at the opening of a 5-day exhibition of Made in Nigeria goods and services. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports that the Vice President described the products as the pride of the nation. Take a look.
The exhibition, organized by the Interministerial Committee on Nigeria at 60, in collaboration with other stakeholders in the manufacturing and trade sector, had various made in Nigerian products on display, especially packaged food products. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo had one-on-one interaction with the exhibitors and commends them for their commitment and the quality of the goods on display. Vice President Osinbajo also rides in one of the Nigerian assembled electric cars on display at the exhibition, produced with 75% local materials.
Very good, fantastic drive, and really smooth, really smooth. I think this is, it just shows what is possible, and I'm glad to see that this is a Nigerian-made electric car, and you can literally charge it anywhere. So I think it's a very, very fantastic innovation and fantastic product. And I can tell you because I drove it.
The manufacturing sector in Nigeria has been performing well in recent years as compared to the past. The government is beginning to show greater interest and provide more support for local production in order to encourage the growth of local industries.
And in a virtual address, Director General of the World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, says the world is waiting for Nigerians to compete in the world trade market.
The past 2 years, especially in this government, it's been improved tremendously. We'll be given visibility, support, help in training, in technical support, and most especially even on the social media. And for that, we are entirely grateful.
Well, the Vice President said it. Nigeria is now ready for the rest of the world. Jide Onifade, NTA News.
The World Bank says it will continue to partner Nigeria to see through reforms that would propel growth and development in the country. Leah Katun-Babatunde reports that the financial institution also advised on deeper fiscal and monetary policy engagements targeted at uplifting the poor and reducing costs to free resources for development.
The World Bank produces the Nigeria Development Update NDU twice a year, and in line with that tradition, the June 2021 report is themed Resilience Through Reforms. It assesses recent economic and social development prospects in Nigeria. Rising inflation, protecting the poor, job creation, exchange rates, and the almighty subsidies on power and petrol all featured prominently as Nigeria trunks on the post-COVID-19 recovery path.
If there must be subsidy, it is the poorest of the poor that should be subsidized, not the rich.
There have to be means to cushion, help ordinary Nigerians absorb the impact of that. And the immediate, most promising way of doing so would be to think about direct cash transfers.
How we're going to break this chain of dependency that you're talking about. It is partnership with the private sector. It is greater transparency on the part of government. It is reduction of cost of governance. And it is really understanding on the part of our people that Nigeria is not this boundlessly rich country.
More than 1.2 trillion naira is being spent on petrol subsidies annually, with 520 billion naira spent on power just last year. These resources, panelists say, can be better channeled to cater to the needs of the poor and address developmental necessities.
The private sector needs to do a lot more in winning trust. The public sector needs to be a bit more broad-minded.
Immediate policies, for example, that tackle excise taxes for sing goods, we're talking alcohol, cigarettes, sugary drinks, for instance, could be one way to mobilize revenues in the short term.
In bridging the inequality gap, they suggest stronger communication between the government and the people, stronger policy and regulatory environment, improved operational efficiencies, and infrastructure development. In Abuja, Leah Katung-Babatunde, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, says it will partner with its Gambian counterpart to strengthen macroeconomic policies and framework needed for development of the two countries. This was the fallout of a visit by a delegation of Gambian Central Bank to CBN. Musa Abubakar reports.
It's a bankers' bank meeting of two countries of West Africa, the Central Bank of the Gambia and that of Nigeria. The visiting Apex Bank delegation are on a study tour to share and tap from Nigeria's expertise on areas ranging from foreign exchange management, banking supervision, currency management, and cybersecurity, amongst areas critical to growing the economy.
Also be of assistance in printing your currency. And I can assure you that we can be extremely competitive, if only from a standpoint of logistics and freight. Yes. From Europe. It's just going to be a few hours from here to Gambia and the rest of them. So I think we can share ideas, we can share about how we can help ourselves. And whether we like it or not, we must put our foot forward first to help our country before expecting others to come help us. And that is a mantra that our president has adopted, and that is what we are following through on.
Cyber is an area that we are interested in. Fintech also is a new area, how you do supervision and regulation in that area, stress testing. And also we want to learn from you how you move from Basel I to Basel II and III.
The two-day engagement will enable both Apex banks share knowledge and experience vital for strengthening the macroeconomic environment. In Abuja, I am Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
Turning to the legislature now, where the recent investigative sitting by the House Ad Hoc Committee on Status of the Nigerian Recovered Funds centered on whether or not the Office of the National Security Advisor should source money from the recovered funds and the recovery operation by the Nigeria Police Force. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu has a report on the clarification by the agencies involved.
It is a continuous assessment of all recovered funds, both movable and immovable assets from year 2002 to 2020. Submissions were made by relevant agencies on various issues during the investigation geared towards ensuring efficiency in the management of public funds. They include a report on foreign bank accounts owned by the NSA office and 61 billion naira, which was reported to have been returned to NSA bank accounts.
Okay, so why did you refund?
Why we returned the money? Because that company, as at that time, was under investigation. So when we saw that they released money for their payments, actually they have a valid contract. I checked the contract documents and I draw the attention of the NSA. So I said, but this company, they are under investigation that time. So he said the fact that they are under investigation, that we should return the money back to the treasury. And that was what happened.
When the suspect is arraigned, it becomes a exhibit of the court. The place it will be depends on the judge's discretion.
All payments are made on the basis of approval, sir. We don't arbitrarily pay money from any source.
On the issues investigated by the committee were the IILO recovered funds and details of the Nigerian police recovery within the period under review.
There will be transparency that will ensure that things that are wasted needs to be put together and turned into assets.
The committee resolved to invite the Accountant General of the Federation and Committee on Arms and Defense Equipment Procurement for further explanations. From the National Assembly, Abdullahi Aminu, NTA News.
Let's take our first set of messages. We are back shortly.
His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Borno State, Professor Babagana Umar Azlam, warmly welcomes Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, on a one-day working visit to Borno State for appraisal of security situation in the Northeast. During the visit, scheduled for June 17, 2021, Mr. President will commission some developmental projects executed by the Borno State government. Mr. President will also commission the first phase of 10,000 houses graciously approved by the President for the dignified resettlement of IDPs and refugees across Borno State. Borno's resettlement effort is a bold testimony to the relative peace achieved through ongoing counterinsurgency operations, which are sincerely led by the President, Commander-in-Chief. The people of Borno State deeply recognize Mr. President's undoubtful commitment towards peace restoration in the Northeast. Mr. President, welcome to Borno State. Announcer Alhaji Usman Jiddashwa, Secretary to Borno State Government.
At the first sign of pain, you need a solution that you can trust. Try Panadol Caplets. With Panadol's Optizorb formula, the tablet absorbs quickly and starts providing fast and effective pain relief you can trust. Try Panadol Caplets.
The House Committee on Information invites the general public to a public hearing on the following bills: a bill to amend the National Broadcasting Act, a bill for an act to repeal the Advertising Practitioners Act, a bill to establish the Nigerian Institute of Translators and Interpreters and related matters, a bill to repeal the National Film and Video Censors Act, and a bill for an act to amend the Press Council Act. Date 16th and 17th June 2021. Venue Conference Room 034, House of Representatives, National Assembly Complex, Abuja. Time 10 a.m. daily. Honorable Odebomi Olusegun, Chairman, Announcer.
Here today, gone tomorrow. Cause you volatile like the water, and you promise what you don't know. Sometimes it's right and then it's so wrong. Them go do like say them wise, will promise you the world, but brother all now worship. Upon all of the open eye, I see no fear water, like you love the letter.
Airtel, the smartphone network. It's scary, isn't it? Putting yourself out there, ignoring the voices telling you can't. Moments like these are when your fight or flight response kick in. Will you step aside? Or will you go for it? After all, what's the worst that could happen? So, keep trying. Don't stop. Don't give up. Push harder. Give it everything you've got. Because nothing experience to nourish you every step of the way.
Guess what?
What?
I scored a hat trick today.
Cool! Wow! And how did you celebrate?
Just do your hands like this.
And hold your nose like this.
Body odor is caused by germs. That's why you need the new improved Dettol Cool Soap, which protects against 99.9% odor-causing germs with an extra burst of menthol freshness. Dettol, be 100% sure.
This is NTN Network News with me, Joseph Johnson. The saying that road safety is everybody's business this Tuesday was further emphasized as the Federal Road Safety Corps added a national traffic radio station to its efforts at ensuring that safety returns to the nation's highways. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, who inaugurated the station, says Nigerians will now be well informed on road traffic situations before or while traveling. Jide Onifade reports.
Traffic reporter updating you on the traffic situation across the nation. So let's go to the Federal Capital Territory. As of
that was Vice President Yemi Osinbajo updating residents of Abuja and its environ on the traffic situation in the Federal Capital Territory. It is the first voice from a top government official on the newly inaugurated Road Safety Corps National Traffic Radio 107.1 FM, Abuja.
It will be useful in broadcasting information on safety and security. It can even be used to reach far-flung areas for teaching and dissemination of public health advisories and information. So I really think that the vision and the resourcefulness of the leadership of the FRSC ought to be commended.
The Vice President was accompanied by Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, the FCT Minister Muhammad Musa Bello, and other stakeholders, and were all led on inspection of the data center and the observatory by Corps Marshal Boboye Oyeyemi.
Every hour we give the traffic situation nationwide and the crash situations too, and we also encourage road users as you are traveling, if you see a broken down vehicle or a crash, or anything that is happening, you can call the toll-free 122 or you call straight to the traffic radio studio. And is to get the public to be involved in road safety management like this.
It ought be recalled that the Vice President recently inaugurated a Federal Road Safety Corps Marshal Inspectorate Training School in Owalero, Delta State, all in a bid to further strengthen efforts at improving road safety on the nation's highways. In Abuja, Jide Onifade, NTN News.
The Nigerian Army will expand its scope in Ebonyi State by creating more units to tackle criminal activities. The Chief of Army Staff, Major General Farouk Yahaya, stated this while receiving the Governor of Ebonyi State, David Umahi, on a visit to the Nigerian Army headquarters, Abuja.
Also require you to further support our efforts bringing peace and security to that zone. It's only with peace and security that all other developments, all other requirements, can be looked into.
Governor Umahi, who is also the chairman Southeast Governors Forum, noted that securing Nigeria is a collective responsibility.
What we lack is patriotism in this country, and where we have a lot of fake news and people that do not appreciate what leaders pass through in this country, and they dish out all kinds of fake news. It's quite discouraging.
He commended the military for the ongoing efforts to save lives and property across the country. Normalcy has been restored to Sabonlai village of Jos South local government area of Plateau State after the killing of 12 residents by unknown gunmen. Abdul Wahab Babakanti has the situation report.
Sabolai is a village in Kuru, just south local government area, few kilometers from Jos, the state capital. Last Sunday was a black day for the community as unknown gunmen attacked the area, killed 12 residents with many injured. Normalcy has been restored to the community as residents were seen going about their normal businesses.
People are in the normal business. So many people are in the farm now. Some of them are staying here, seeing about what happened. Those are most affected.
Because of what happened, we are mourning. That's why it's short, but there's no any violence, nothing. We are just calm.
Plateau State Governor Simon Bakolalond condemned the killings and appealed for calm. He advised the people to increase surveillance and collaborate with security agencies in crime prevention. In Jos, Abdulhaba Bankanti, and TA News.
Courts have reopened for the first time after the suspension of more than 2-month-old strike by the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSN. Omenka Marachuku, following the development, reports that the reopening of the courts signals the beginning of court sittings.
The Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria is an umbrella union of judiciary staff, has since April 6th left all courts in Nigeria under lock and key due to the non-implementation of the financial autonomy for the judiciary staff as the third arm of the government. Now the court have suspended the strike.
We have confidence that the 4-man committee will do the necessary thing for the implementation to be done.
The effect of the JUSN strike, no doubt, affected the entire strata of the society. At individual levels, people couldn't enforce their fundamental rights.
For example, in my practice, we couldn't say we made any money from litigation in 2 months. And yet, in those 2 months, we had to pay salaries.
And if the Constitution said grant the judicial autonomy, what's stopping it? At the federal level, the federal courts enjoy it. How was the federal government able to achieve it?
The way forward is there for government to ensure that the resolutions which they have reached are being fully implemented.
A 5-man committee was set up to look into the agitation of the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria. In Abuja, Omenka Marachuku, NTA News.
Nigeria has been elected as a regular member of the governing board of the International Labour Organization, ILO, at the ongoing 109th session of the International Labour Conference in Geneva, Switzerland. Nigeria was elected to the apex leadership organ of the ILO alongside other African countries, Cameroon, Eswatini, Morocco, Rwanda and Uganda, in a keenly contested election, and will serve till 2024. Until yesterday's 14th June 2021 election, Nigeria had served as deputy or titular from June 2017, from where she was elected the chair of the governing board of the ILO in 2019. This is the 11th time Nigeria is elected for quality representation of the Africa region of the ILO. In this new position, Nigeria will be able to chair various governing board sessions and committees, oversee adoption of decisions usually by consensus, as well as amendments of minutes and records of proceedings, adoption of reports of various committees, including the reports of regional meetings and other ILO sectoral meetings. The National Hajj Commission of Nigeria has made a strong appeal to 2021 prospective pilgrims to accept the recent report from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia over closure of the 2 holy mosques to countries outside the Saudi Arabia for pilgrimage in good faith. Chairman of the Commission, Zikirullah Hassan, in a media session at NACON headquarters, says funds of all intending pilgrims are secured and assured of high-level engagement with states ahead of the future preparations.
It's Muslims all over the world that are equally affected. We are hoping that, inshallah, this time next year it will be a different story. But as it is, we accepted the will of Allah.
Earlier, NACON received officials of the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission on plans to initiate process for the development of its property on private-public partnership arrangements.
It's estimated to be for a concession period of 35 years and will be executed by private capital to the tune of 1.6 billion naira.
The chairman promised to leverage on other areas to improve the value of its assets nationwide and boost government revenue drive. Efforts are on to fashion out a legal framework that will define the place of research and development as the main parameters for measuring the strength and sustainability of the country's GDP. This was at the inauguration of the National Research and Development Foundation Draft Executive Bill Committee of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TET Fund. It is a legal framework that will be carried out by experts for the TET Fund, through the Ministry of Education for submission to the Federal Executive Council and the Legislature. TET Fund intends to make Nigeria a knowledge-based economy as obtainable in other developed societies through research and development.
A very important mechanism to promote research, innovation, and their application to solving national problems.
We hope we will be able to propose something to the expectation of the team that has put the documents together and also the nation expecting research and development as a foundation.
The committee is to submit its report within 4 months. The Association of General, Private and Medical Practitioners of Nigeria is seeking NTA's partnership to drive the implementation of strategic roadmap for increased access to effective delivery of maternal and child health care services in Nigeria. Usman Abubakar Kwanga reports that this was during the association's visit to NTA's headquarters, Abuja.
Population growth the world over has challenged state and non-state actors to expand the health sector's pace for quality service delivery with the private practitioners at the center stage. The future of making 100 million Nigerians accessible to affordable health care under a time frame of 5 years is what the Association of General and Private Medical Practitioners of Nigeria wants to achieve in partnership with NTA.
The government is doing its best, but government cannot do it alone. So we are coming out in our fullest regalia to stand by our government to begin to take a closer and deeper look at what it takes to provide best care delivery system to Nigerians.
Executive Director Administration and Training Dr. Steve Ebo appreciated the intervention of health service providers in the country and restated NTA's willingness to support any initiative geared towards making Nigeria better.
You've come to the right place, and we will do all within our power to provide the platform you need.
Dr. Ebo urged the association not to relent in serving humanity for a healthy and productive nation. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
Let's now join Adiola in Lagos for more reports. Adiola.
Thank you, Joseph. As the introduction of additional round trips along the Lagos-Ibadan rail line come alive, passengers have started exploring the flexibility and convenience it offers. Michael Olaleye reports that while turnout was impressive from Lagos, same was not replicated from Ibadan access.
It is rare for any train to depart from the Mobolaji Johnson train station at exactly 8 in the morning since the commencement of test ride in December 2020. But that has actually changed with the introduction of additional trips along the Lagos-Ibadan rail line. Now, the impressive thing here is that 2 trains will be departing Lagos and Ibadan simultaneously, both at 8 in the morning and in the evening. The positivity this is giving to travelers is that you can work in Lagos with its huge financial demand and reside in Ibadan with relatively low standard of living.
I had the option of going to Lagos first thing tomorrow morning or going tonight. So I decided to give it a try. I haven't seen the broadcast online. And I was actually, let me say I was surprised and I'm impressed. And the train actually left exactly 4 p.m.
We are going to reduce what we call carbon emission, because most of us on this train now, we have our cars. But if you can get a train that will take you from Lagos down to somewhere at Ibadan here, you can easily park your car at the station and go there to your house. So in terms of environmental sustainability, it's going to actually help us a lot.
But the real problem is the fare. If the share should come down a little bit, maybe by 30%, it will be good for the masses.
Some passengers are certain that if the impressive turnout recorded from Lagos is anything to go by, the railway corporation should be thinking of increasing the round trips before the July deadline. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NTA News.
With an annual production of 5 million metric tons of urea, Nigeria is assured of a boost in its agricultural production across the value chain and a potential earning of $1.2 billion annually from exporting the commodity to other countries. Abolade Salami in this report takes a look at the impacts of the fit and sustainable agricultural development in the country.
The premium placed on economic diversification by the present administration is the driving force behind the sustainable economic growth and development achieved in virtually all quarters of the year. The unrelenting efforts to make the agricultural value chain a major source of revenue earnings aside crude oil is beginning to pay off, as the country recently attains the status of the largest producer of urea on the basis of the Dangote fertilizer plant in Nigeria.
So, I don't know which other business you will go into that you make more than 100% in profit. It is only in agriculture you can find it. And to investors, it is only in Nigeria that you can see the kind of yield that you get from your investments.
With an estimated annual production of 3 million metric tons from Dangote fertilizer plants to augment the 1.5 million metric tons capacity from Indorama, Africa's largest economy now stands top in the world as regards urea, with farmers expected to grow cash crop of higher yields.
The essence of fertilizer usage is to enhance your output so that rather than just growing 1.5, getting 1.5 metric tons per hectare, you are getting 3, 4 or thereabout. So to add that incremental output, there are so many things that has to go through it. And you have to use improved seedlings and seeds. So all those things have to be in place.
As the commodity floods Nigerian market, agricultural experts say the product will not only boost agricultural yields, but also guarantee food sufficiency. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
Now, where we go next is on another break as we're done from here.
When you come into the Glow Cafe, you're in for a world of treats. Not only can you monitor all your voice and data usage with ease, buy, share, borrow, and gift data and airtime in the smoothest ways, pay for any services of your choice using your airtime or your bank card, and manage or change your tariff plan to any plan you prefer seamlessly. You can also add friends, get sweet rewards, and so much more. Oh, and don't forget, if you ever need to recharge outside the Glow Cafe app, just dial *805# to purchase airtime or data through your bank. So, step into your Glow Cafe today.
Just dial *777# or download the Glow Cafe app today.
Don't be here on time.
kids will rush home for tasty meals prepared with Sonia tomato mix.
Yummy ×2.
It's so good eating together with the family.
Thanks to Sonia. Sonia tomato mix brings you together.
It's scary, isn't it? Putting yourself out there, ignoring the voices telling you can't. Moments like these are when your fight or flight response kick in. Will you step aside? Or will you go for it? After all, what's the worst that could happen? So, keep trying. Don't stop. Don't give up. Push harder. Give it everything you've got. Because nothing is really impossible when you dig deep. Believe in yourself and go for it. IILO, available in many variants to nourish you every step of the way.
Guess what?
What?
I scored a hat trick today.
Cool.
Wow.
And how did you celebrate?
Just do your hands like this.
And hold your nose like this.
Body odor is caused by germs. That's why you need the new improved Dettol Cool Soap, which protects against 99.9% odor-causing germs with an extra burst of menthol freshness. Dettol, be 100% sure.
The much anticipated UEFA Euro 2021 is finally here. Can Portugal defend the title they won 4 years ago as they face world champions France, Europe giants Germany, Spain, Italy and England? Catch all the action via live transmission, in-depth studio analysis, fixtures, results, updates, and lots more on NTA, Africa's largest TV network. For sponsorship and advert placement, contact Bola on 08037044286 or Idris on 08034633644. This broadcast is proudly brought to you by NTA in partnership with Media Business Solutions, MBS Sports.
It's time to talk business, and Benny is ready to do just that. Benny.
Thanks, Joseph, and welcome to Business. We start by telling you that exhibitors at the ongoing Made in Nigeria Expo to mark Nigeria at 60 have expressed optimism that the country will experience growth in the quest for local content development if more Nigerians patronize locally made goods and services. Nneka Oko reports that the expo, which witnessed the display of various locally made products, including an electric car, continues till June 19th at the Eagle Square in Abuja.
We don't have to patronize foreign products. We are rich now, our culture is rich, our land is blessed. So we need to start encouraging Nigerian grown products. These products can compete anywhere in the world. We have good packaging and the product inside, the content is superb. I'm sure of that.
Most things are being imported because we feel we don't have capacity to carry out what we actually do. So if we buy from ourselves and we have money to produce more, if we can produce more, it will improve the economy.
And on the capital market, investors lost 339.85 billion naira as NGX all-share index dips by 1.66% to open the week negative. Equities closed at 38,507.29 basis points as against 0.14% depreciation recorded previously. Market breadth closed negative as CWG led 19 gainers as against 25 losers, topped by Airtel Afrique at the end of today's session. Access Bank, Sterling Bank and Zenith Bank were the most active to boost the market turnover, just as Homerit and Zenith Bank topped market value list. Joseph, it's nice doing business with you.
Very well. Thank you and have a good night. With about 12.5% of the global population, older persons aged 60 and above are said to need more attention on issues affecting their well-being. This is why the International Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse and the World Health Organization set aside June 15 to mark the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day to provide opportunity for communities around the world with the theme Access to Justice. Ruth Agwele reports.
They're usually fragile, most times needing support. So one wonders, why would anyone want to hurt such a person in their vulnerable state? Elder abuse is a global issue that experts say is one of the least investigated violence. That is what the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day addresses every June 15 to stop any form of abuse of older generation, especially with inadequate awareness and data on such abuses.
We need information about the elderly. We need to know how many they are, where they are, what they are doing.
If wishes were horses, 92-year-old Grace Samuel would turn back the hands of time to when she could fend for herself and fight for her rights.
I praise my God see they give me small power. The thing we want government to do for we old people, how to help us, because we cannot do anything.
A glimpse of hope beckons for Grace and her likes with the establishment of the National Senior Citizen Center, social protection and quality of life of older persons that many believe will make a difference.
By establishing this agency under the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, it's a clear testimony by this caring and human administration of President Muhammad Buhari that Nigeria is not left behind.
This year's commemoration is very special, since after many years of indifference, Nigeria's senior citizens now have a focal center saddled with the responsibility of enhancing their dignity, security, and welfare.
Experts are of the opinion that there will be light at the end of the tunnel for older persons, with more sensitization and attention being taken on cases of abuses. In Abuja, Ruth Agwele, NTA News.
As part of federal government's unflinching commitment to the National Youth Service Corps scheme, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the automatic employment of 10 direct siblings of deceased NYSC members who lost their lives during the 2011 post-election violence in Bauchi State. Olenka Ujo reports that Minister of Youth and Sports Development Sunday Dare stated this at the inauguration of the National Governing Board of the National Youth Service Corps. He also urged members of the board not to meddle with the daily routine of the agency, but formulate policies for implementation by the management, as well as see their appointments as a national call to duty.
With the provisions of the Act, especially as they relate to the roles they have and their responsibilities.
On behalf of my colleagues here, I promise that we will not fail him.
The newly inaugurated board has a term of 3 years. Let's take a short break. Stay with us.
On the wings of democracy, Nigeria celebrates June 12. Issues of progressive democracy and nation building on focus on NTA Tuesday Live this week. Tuesday Live, every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. promises to be incisive and educative. Join us.
The much anticipated UEFA Euro 2021 is finally here. Can Portugal defend the title they won 4 years ago as they face world champions France, Europe giants Germany, Spain, Italy and England? Catch all the action via live transmission, in-depth studio analysis, fixtures, results, updates, and lots more on NTA, Africa's largest TV network. For sponsorship and advert placement, contact Bola on 08037044286 or Idris on 08034633644. This broadcast is proudly brought to you by NTA in partnership with Media Business Solutions, MBS Sports.
My name is Alhaji Lai Mohammed, the Minister of Information and Culture. I just received my first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, and I'm glad I did so. This vaccine has been proven to be safe and efficacious. And as long as we take this vaccine and we continue to obey the COVID-19 protocols, such as frequent washing of hands, use of sanitizer, wearing of masks in public places, keeping social distancing, avoiding gatherings, we are sure going to beat COVID-19.
Let's bring you sports news, and here is Buddy.
Many thanks, Joseph. Let's begin with Euro 2020 as defending champions Portugal left it late to secure a 3-0 win against Hungary as Cristiano Ronaldo ran riot late on with a double that saw him make history as the first player to score 10 goals at the Euros.
3-0. Nobody does it better.
Meanwhile, Spain and Sweden had earlier played goalless in the afternoon, but the match between world champions and that's France and Germany, which is in the closing stages, is still 1-0 in favor of France. France went 1-0 up at the 20th minute after Germany defender Mats Hummels diverted the ball into his own net. Kylian Mbappe and Karim Benzema were then denied by video assistant referee, just as Germany also went in search of an equalizer. We'll update you on that. All right. Moving on, match day 2 fixtures at the Euros begin on Wednesday with 3 matches on offer. Finland will take on Russia in the early kickoff, with Turkey and Wales facing off, while Italy and Switzerland will clash in the last match of the day. Back home, the newly elected Executive Committee of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, led by Tonuba Kokowa, has been inaugurated in Abuja. Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, at the ceremony, challenged the new board members, which he described as the only recognized athletics ruling body, to immediately hit the ground running.
The job ahead is hard. We have lost time as a federation. It is time to catch up. So I urge you to stand up, to roll up, to concentrate, and to keep your eye at the tip of the spear.
We will always come close to you and work with you. And please, let the ministry put us on our toes so that we can work hard.
And finally, in recognition of his contributions to the development of grassroots sports in Nigeria, the Society for the Promotion of Sports on Tuesday decorated the founder of Heartland Football Club, Emmanuel Nwayawu, as the grand patron of the National Under-17 Football Tournament.
And it will be
a constant reminder that while I pass through this world, I render services and youth appreciated it to the extent that when I am not in position to do anything, they still remember.
And of course, the match between France and Germany just ended, going in favor of France 1-0. And that sports is back to Joseph.
Thank you, Bade. And that's Network News for tonight. Thank you very much indeed for watching. I'm Joseph Johnson. Don't forget to be a star. Connect with the NTA to stand against rape and rapists. Bye-bye.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Welcome to Abuja, the place that unites Nigeria.
This is the network service of the NTA.
The much anticipated UEFA Euro 2021 is finally here. Can Portugal defend the title they won 4 years ago as they face world champions France, Europe giants Germany, Spain, Italy and England? Catch all the action via live transmission, in-depth studio analysis, fixtures, results, updates, and lots more on NTA, Africa's largest TV network. For sponsorship and advert placement, contact Bola on 080-37-044-286 or Idris on 080-34-633-644. This broadcast is proudly brought to you by NTA in partnership with Media Business Solutions, MBS Sports.
Revision classes on television for students in secondary schools in English and mathematics will commence on the NTA. The revision classes will transmit Mondays to Fridays from 5 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. on the network service of the NTA. This is organized in preparation for the various national examinations and others. This is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Education.
Life can be very eventful. We curiously expect things to happen, even when we don't know what. Our human nature makes us like and repost lots of information. Some are unverified, inciting anger and hate. Sometimes innocently, other times the urge to break it first. This, in most cases, has caused destruction in many nations.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
The much anticipated UEFA Euro 2021 is finally here. Can Portugal defend the title they won 4 years ago as they face world champions France, Europe giants Germany, Spain, Italy and England? Catch all the action via live transmission, in-depth studio analysis, fixtures, results, updates, and lots more on NTA, Africa's largest TV network. For sponsorship and advert placement, contact Bola on 08037044286 or Idris on 08034633644. This broadcast is proudly brought to you by NTA in partnership with Media Business Solutions, MBS Sports.
Democracy speaks of the power of the people and how it is appropriated for governance. And governance in any democracy is often guided by the Constitution, which dictates the rules of engagement from bottom to top. It is the scepter of authority with which the arms of government operate. Hence, the necessity for ensuring that at every point in time, it is not just available but inclusive to meet contemporary needs of citizens and government. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Dateline 360. I am Omotola Omojola. On this edition, we will attempt a holistic look at the ongoing Constitution review by the National Assembly, and we will be bringing you some of the salient points raised by regions. Let's join National Assembly correspondent Dayo Ogunshola as he provides social and historical perspectives on the Nigerian Constitution, as well as issues calling for the alteration of the 1999 Constitution.
Before 1960, when Nigeria gained her independence, 4 different constitutions had been in place. And between 1960 and 1979, 3 additional constitutions came into being. At the return of democracy in 1999, the current constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria was bequeathed to the nation. Like many other constitutions of the advanced democracies that have developed over time, the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is seen to have issues calling for amendment.
Take, for example, the constitutional development of the United States. There are over 208 years that their constitution has been, and in those 208 years they've had 27 amendments. As situations arise within the society and governance, the law must also reform or catch up with the developments.
Given the above, the 5th, 6th, 7th and the 8th National Assemblies made efforts to amend the Constitution to meet the realities of the nation, but such efforts came with little or no success. Determined to make a difference, the 9th National Assembly on Exemption inaugurated constitutional review committees in the 2 chambers of the National Assembly, culminating into the zonal and the national public hearings on the 1999 Constitution review.
Our job is to produce a constitution that turns the page on our past, yet heeds its many painful lessons. It is not an easy task, but it is a necessary and urgent one.
The Senate has decided to adopt a bottom-up approach by first listening to Nigerians at the geopolitical level. You are indeed the pillar on which the committee's work is to be anchored.
We are ready to listen closely to every view and reflect on every proposal and give due consideration to every contribution.
Top on the 16-point agenda during the hearings were the issues of federal structure, fiscal federalism, electoral reforms, states and local governments creation, and the role of traditional rulers, among others.
By incorporating traditional rulers in the Constitution, you are empowering them.
The leadership of the National Assembly is assuring Nigerians that the review will be passed this year.
We are closer to the end in passing the important bills still before us, namely the Petroleum Industry Bill, PIB, the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, and the Constitution Amendment Bill within the remaining days in this quarter.
Since law is regarded as organic, which develops over the years based on the reality and the operating experience, experts have the view that the current attempt by the National Assembly is a right step in the right direction. Dayo Ogunshola for Dateline 360.
Tackling insecurity, electoral reforms, as well as creation of states were some of the requests made by critical stakeholders in North Central during the recent National Assembly public hearing on the review of the 1999 Constitution. Ekimiren Kaneng Ladoja tells us more.
We the people is the first word in the Nigerian Constitution, and over the years, key players have noted that the input of the Nigerian people was perhaps not taken into consideration when putting the Constitution together. And the current Senate felt it worthy to have this public gathering to sort the input of the Nigerian people. The areas for considerations are electoral reform, local government autonomy, devolution of powers, establishment of traditional advisory council, gender equality and child rights, indigenship and residency, as well as strengthening of community policing.
This memo has been signed by the royal fathers, signed by the elected representatives in the Senate, in the House of Representatives, in the State House of Assembly, a chairman of local governments.
We submitted the memorandum on behalf of the Solokwe community on the correct name of the headquarters of Ekiti local government area of Kwara State in furtherance of what we think will engender good governance in the administration of that local government.
Some even feel that, especially some politicians, they feel that the institution want to usurp their roles, which is not.
Minimum wage should remain in the exclusive list.
There is need for amendment to Section 6 of the Constitution so as to pave way for the creation of constitutional courts that will deal with human rights infractions.
Key players from the North Central Zone expressed the hope that the alteration of the 1999 Constitution will capture the current realities of the nation and in the process ensure rule of law and enhance economic development.
The scope of the current legislative list must now enlarge to empower states with greater control over some matters of governance.
We should take advantage of the platform to legislate and amend submission as one Buhari initiated or move from the 1999 Constitution to make it more people accepted.
The Ninth Assembly says it will handle the requests with utmost sincerity.
The National Assembly introduces every paper presented before us, and by the grace of God, we shall uphold the popular opinion of Nigeria.
The stakeholders gave an assurance of their determination to continue to work in the interest of the country. In Jos, Ekemeren Kaneng Ladoja.
Devolution of powers resonated at almost all the sittings across the country. In addition to this, and gender parity, hearing on constitution review in the southwestern part of the country also harped on the need for state police and reduction in the cost of governance. From Akure, the Ondo State capital, Abiola Rio tells us more on the demands and way forward for Nigeria.
The inadequacies identified in Nigeria's 1999 constitution are said to be among the major factors slowing down the country's pace of development. This is what the Senate and House of Representatives public hearings on the review of the 1999 constitution sought to find answers to harmonizing stakeholders' contributions. At the separate public hearings in Akure, representatives from Ondo, Ekiti and Osun states identified some lapses in the constitution and suggested various areas that should be addressed. The areas include devolution of power, local government autonomy, as well as women and youth representations in governance.
The good governance continue to elude the masses when government is far away from them. The federal and the states, they are too far away from the grassroots, and local governments are the answer.
With the passage of the Petroleum Industry Bill, with the abrogation of open grazing and some of those things, that the zones will be more consolidated and it will enhance service delivery.
Reduction in the cost of governance, scrapping of moribund ministries, departments and agencies both at the federal and state levels, and establishment of state police were also issues highlighted at the Southwest public hearing.
The establishment of state police will go a long way to reduce the present situation we have in the country. Security is local.
Women groups and the Christian Association of Nigeria suggested that women should occupy more political seats and that the Sharia law, which is embedded in the Constitution, should be replicated by embedding some Christian doctrines in the Constitution.
When you have more women in parliament, there will be life. A lot of development issues will be given the kind of life that it requires.
Let us put gender into consideration.
Introduction of ecclesiastical court that will attend to the Christian needs.
Both the Senate and House of Representatives pledged a fair constitutional review.
I've come here to collate your opinions
And be rest assured, we will do a non-partisan report on those opinions.
Our recommendations will be drawn from your presentation as presented. And we assure you that we are determined to turn out a reviewed document that will capture the aspirations of Nigerians.
With these assurances, participants say they are optimistic that the current review will address some of the challenges facing the nation. In Akure, Abiola Ariyo.
And constituents from Katsina, Kaduna and Jigawa states converge on Kano to have their say in the hearing for the review of the 1999 Constitution. And Samira Hamisu reports that besides the need to entrench true federalism, issues like creation of state, senatorial representation, as well as security had the attention of the legislators.
The exercise mainly dwelled on 30 thematic areas to be altered in the Constitution.
The focus of this time is to fully secure the participation of all Nigerians in the process and to be able to have a constitution that can reasonably meet the expectations of we, the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Senatorial representation should be based on population, and where the minimum number of senatorial senators per state should be 2, while the maximum should be 5.
The current mining law in the country that is centrally allocated has no respect for local communities' input as it relates to monitoring and evaluation, and has great consequences on particularly the peasant farmers in the area. Perhaps, our region Northwest, that's why we're witnessing high rate of insecurity, because it's a factor.
One of the recommendations of Kano State government during the public hearing is the establishment of an International Trade Center Commission. This is with a view to exploit the various commercial opportunities in the ancient city and, of course, attract foreign investors. Delegations from Katsina, Kaduna and Jigawa states presented their positions on various issues that will move their respective states forward.
Katsina State believes that the derivation principle as enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution as amended of 1979 should be maintained.
We are in total support of the submission by the movement for the creation of Hajj state. Also, we support the creation of additional local governments.
Proposed Karadwa State, Mr. Chairman, boasts of a number of companies that are competing to come and locate their businesses within the entity, which shows the economic viability of the area.
Gurara State is the most qualified state to be created in Nigeria now, based on whatever criteria you can think about.
You must avoid taking the slippery slope path to constitutional uncertainty and constitutional archy.
Presentations on strengthening the independence of the National Electoral Body, local government councils, review of the revenue allocation formula every 10 years, gender equity and judicial reforms were prioritized.
Removing labor from the exclusive legislative list, that will be tantamount to renouncing Nigerians' ratification of extant IILO conventions and repudiating Nigerians' membership of the IILO.
The issue of the cost of governance should be looked into.
Over 80 memorandum were received by the Kano Center during the 2-day public hearing. Samira Hamisishira reporting for Deadline 360.
And from Kano, we move to Bauchi, where Mahmoud Ibn Muhammad reports that the recent constitution review process elicited mixed reactions from stakeholders from Bauchi, Borno, and Yobe states. People from the Northeast zone, he says, are of the opinion that fundamental changes are required in Nigeria, including the power of states to enforce laws, with power devolution and local government autonomy taking the center stage.
Labor and minimum wage will be retained on the exclusive legislative list.
Governors
are the chief security officers of their respective states, yet they have no control over the chief law enforcement officers of their states, which includes commissioners of police.
We start with the gender equality, increased participation of women and vulnerable groups in government.
These are some of the opinions and submissions of the people from Bauchi, Borno and Yobe states expected to avail Nigerians the opportunity to make submissions on issues of interest. The public hearing and conclusion will provide a framework to the National Assembly to prioritize such issues to enhance the welfare and security of citizens.
Divergent views are also to be debated in order to build consensus that can, at the end of the day, be generally accepted for the betterment and strengthening of those challenges to suit our peculiarities and realities.
The 1999 Constitution that ushered in the current democratic dispensation has been widely criticized, not only for not holistically meeting the yearnings of the aspiration of Nigerians, but because of its many gaps.
At the end of it all, it is hoped that controversial matters will be given due consideration in Bauchi. Mahmoud Ibn Muhammad.
An informal Okafo now highlights some of the salient issues and amendments being sought by representatives of the South states of Delta, Edo and Bayelsa for a constitution that they say should reflect the common will of Nigerians.
The review of the 1999 Constitution in the South Delta, Edo and Bayelsa states featured contentious issues of national concerns such as judiciary financial independence, devolution of power to the states, local government autonomy, gender equality, removal of immunities for public office holders, as well as increased participation of women and youth in governance.
You have a situation where Chief Justice of the state is under the control of the government. All the expenditures, all the things they do within that this thing is controlled by the government, their funds, and how can you get justice?
We talked about inclusion, of women in political party structures. That is one. It should be added, and we talked about special seats, additional special seats for women, both in the federal and state legislative houses.
Participants believe the establishment of fully funded state policing will go a long way in curbing insecurity.
By the time you allow state government to create their own police, it will help to reduce crime. Because most of this crime, the people that perpetrate it are among us.
Another issue on the front burner was the underdevelopment of the oil-producing communities in the Niger Delta. There is a demand for an upward review of the 13% derivation paid to oil-producing states to 50%.
There's hardly any state in Nigeria that does not have any mineral resources. It's good to engender growth. It will mean that everyone now look inward to tap into the resources that they have in their states.
The position of the South states on fiscal federalism is full control of natural resources at the federating units and subsequent payment of taxes to the federal government. To them, this will encourage competitiveness and stimulate economic growth.
It will make the region grow very fast and pay by the time we are paying tax to federal government. And it will make every other state in this country sit up and zones. They will sit up to want to find what they will be able to put in the table so that federal government can now negotiate with them.
There were also calls to alter the Electoral Act to include electronic voting and processing to ensure credible representation and shape the political conduct of Nigerians.
The concerns of the South, if addressed in the Constitution, will no doubt guarantee the socio-economic change for the nation. In Asaba, Ifeoma Okafor.
Like it is in most parts of the country, devolution of power, state policing and fiscal federalism also resonated at the Constitution Review hearings in the southeastern part of the country. Kelechi Ochiara now brings us details.
The process of reviewing the 1999 Constitution as amended gathered momentum about 3 weeks ago in the southeast region. with clamor for creation of more states in the zone, devolution of powers to the state, restructuring and fiscal federalism, decentralizing the police for improved security, among other top issues.
I challenge you to look at any demand for a state in any part of the Southeast, which has the unanimity of all the leaders in the state from which that state is being created.
We stand for a society in which families play their role in bringing up and educating responsible citizens who will have a positive impact on the environment.
It will require a restructured Nigeria to contain the present forces and tendencies towards a synchronized national crisis and even possibility of national disintegration.
There were also gender-related issues.
We are asking that at least 35% women representation in appointing offices at the federal and state levels, and to ensure equitable women representation in government.
Governors from the two centers in their separate speeches expressed their support towards the constitutional amendments, which they acknowledged will enhance Nigeria's unity and good governance.
I specifically declared our fervent support to amendments in our constitution that will enhance the unity and prosperity of Nigeria.
For us as leaders in the Southeast, we have been canvassing a more equitable way of meeting the desires of our people.
Chairman Senate Committee in Enugu Zone and former Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, as well as Imo State Committee Chairman Ojuzo Kalu, noted the review of the Constitution was not the first time and made it obvious that the review process will be dependent on the level of partnership and support from the people.
There's no issue that's new in all of this. There will have been in respect of all of them, in respect of all these issues. So we need to find out, which of course we will try to do, to find out what happened to each of these items and at what level.
We have compelled duty to carefully address every challenge to this nation. And there is no better way to do it than through the Constitution Amendment exercise.
Presently, some of these issues about restructuring state police, autonomy of this, autonomy of that, are only coming up because the previous amendments were not assented to.
The Enugu Zonal Center on the Constitution Review was made up of Ebonyi, Anambra, and Enugu states, while that of Owerri Center was for Imo and Abia states. In the Southeast, participants at the concluded public hearing on the proposed alteration of the 1999 Constitution believe that submissions, if given a fair consideration, will help in checkmating corrupt practices or excesses among the tiers of governments and citizenry in the country. In Enugu, Kelechi Ochiara reporting for Dateline 360.
And that's our package for this week on Dateline 360. Please join us next week for another interesting package. I am Omotola Mojola, and on behalf of the production crew, I say thank you for your company.
Since the attainment of independence in 1960, it has been an interchange of power between the military and civilian administration for almost 4 decades, led to the return of democracy on May 29, 1999. Since then, Nigeria's democratic process has been uninterrupted and smooth transition of power from one democratically elected government to another, witnessing significant developmental strides on the economy. The journey, experts say, has not been without challenges, and a lot, they say, needs to be done, especially in the area of security, without which no country can function effectively. The present administration is irrevocably committed to addressing insecurity through poverty and youth unemployment through the intervention programs. Already, the Buhari administration is taking 100 million Nigerians out of poverty. So what are the gains of democracy and what is needed to strengthen democracy? These are some of the questions guests tonight will do justice to, including citizens' participation through phone calls. I am Omini Oden. Welcome to the program. But first, let's take a listen to the background report put together by Timothy Yusuf.
Marked a watershed in the history of Nigeria, in that it ushered in what was expected by many to be enduring democracy. Before then, the country had oscillated between civil and military rule. Since 1999, Nigeria has been enjoying uninterrupted democratic governance, with Chief Olusegun Obasanjo winning the presidential election. He was re-elected for a second term in 2003. Upon completion of his 2 term in office, the late Umaru Musa Yar'Adua became the president following another peaceful election in 2007. He, however, died less than 2 years in office. His vice then, Goodluck Jonathan, assumed his position in line with the country's constitution to complete his tenure. Consequently, President Jonathan contested and won the next round of election as Nigeria's president in 2011. He recontested in 2015 for a second term. What remains history of the country's democratic journey, with an incumbent losing election to an opposition political party that had President Muhammadu Buhari as candidate. President Buhari was re-elected in 2019 till date for a second term. Unbelievable to many if recourse is made to the history of the country, which remained firmly under military rule until May 29, 1999, when another democratic experiment began.
Once the younger population is invested upon, there will be a massive transformation in the country.
It's time for all of us now, one Nigeria, united Nigeria. It's not about, oh, I'm from the north, from the south, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, no.
Both people who have character into public office, people that cannot be easily pocketed or bent.
Going down memory lane, political players and watchers explained that the military did not willingly relinquish power as in 1979, but for so many reasons, which included the crisis generated by the annulment of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, believed to have been won by late Chief MKO Abiola. However, in 2018, like an unexpected lightning bolt, President Muhammadu Buhari's proclamation of June 12 as Democracy Day and investiture of the winner of the annulled 1993 presidential election, MKO Abiola, with the highest national honor of the Grand Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic, GCFR, came to many as a shockingly pleasant surprise.
Our decision to recognize and honor June 12 and its actors is in the national interest. I earnestly invite all Nigerians across all our national divide to accept it in good faith. Accordingly, on behalf of the federal government, I tender the nation's apology to the family of late MKO Abiola.
Generations to come will honor you for this brave act.
Who would have ever believed, given the relationship that you had with Chief MK Abiola, that you would be the instrument God would use to honor this man and to bring reconciliation and healing to the country.
Today, the political landscape is agog, is awake, is vibrant, is hopeful, is expectant, and shall never.
Democracy and nations building. Timothy Yusuf's background report sets the tone for the take of the program, and it's Tuesday Live. At some point, our phone line will be displayed on the screen. If we're true to you, please turn down the volume of your television set and go straight to the point in making your issue across in the program. And we shall be going to about 4 centers tonight: Maiduguri, Port Harcourt, Lagos, and Enugu, all in sustaining the conversation tonight. I'm being joined tonight by a couple of guests in Abuja, and beginning with Senator Ita Enang. Senator Ita Enang is former Senator of Federal Republic of Nigeria, one-time chairman, Rules and Business Committee of the Senate, and also former special advisor to the President on National Assembly Matters, Senate. Currently special advisor to the President on Niger Delta Affairs. Welcome to Tuesday Live.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Also tonight, I'm being joined by Honorable Farouk Adamu, former minority leader, House of Representatives, Federal Republic of Nigeria, now businessman and industrialist. Good to see you on the program.
Good evening.
Also tonight, we have Senator Jonathan Silas Zwingina, former Senator, Federal Republic of Nigeria, former Deputy Senate leader, former Director General, Abiola Kingibe Presidential Campaign. Welcome to Tuesday Live. Also tonight, we have Basel Onyochonam Onwara, Esquire, President General, Ohaneze Ndigbo, General Assembly Worldwide. Welcome to the program.
Very much.
Gentlemen, let's begin. I think I want to just put a question across all of us. Let's see what the shade of opinion looks like. Definitely, it will be the same opinion, but let's see how it looks like. What is your assessment of 22 years of unbroken democratic rule in Nigeria?
Let me traditionally congratulate Nigerians and congratulate His Excellency Mr. President, President Muhammad Buhari, as being the person who now is celebrating the 22nd unbroken years of Nigerian democracy. The assessment is that Nigerians are free to speak their mind. Nigerians are free to express what they want. Nigerians can approach their leaders. Nigerians can even abuse their leaders. That is even still a privilege. And of course, Nigerians can call their leaders to account for any action. Right, they praise you. Wrong, they will chastise you. But under any other system of government, you can't do that because you are only meant to take instructions, take command, obey, execute. But this other one, it is participatory. Nigerians have an opportunity of choosing persons who will sit in the legislature and represent their interest. And when their interest is in any manner endangered or jeopardized, they don't have to go to the governor, they don't have to go to the president, they go to their representative either they are at the local government level, or if that is in existence though, or at the state level, or at the national level. So there is a kind of devolution of authorities, and members of the public, the populace, have many persons to whom they can. And of course, the democracy we've had has led to accountability. Accountability in the sense of the fact that a person in office will be afraid of doing certain things in office because he knows that the public will ask. And of course, one of the other things about democracy and assessment is that there has been institutions fighting corruption, statutory institutions like the EFCC, ICPC, and the Nigeria Financial Intelligence Agency, then the money laundering institutions. They are there, and the courts are a lot free now. The legislature can speak on behalf of the people. So an assessment of democracy is an assessment and a pronouncement of success, and this is what Nigerians can. And one other thing matter I want to mention is that when you are a nation state, independent and democratic, other countries of the world would want to relate with you. And if you seem to have a problem, they will not allow you go down. Like we have in Nigeria, being a democratic country, when we have economic challenge, the international financial institutions will want to come lend money to us, come out of things. There will even be grants. Sometimes they will think of debt forgiveness for you because you are running a democracy. They'll give you money to run and come out of certain situations. Like when we had the downturn in the economy in 2016, 2017, there were bailouts assisted by the international community. And of course, we at the federal government also took that step to bail out the states. And that is because we are a democracy. And countries and international institutions can lend to us to develop.
Okay. Thanks for your own perspective. Farouk Adamu, some would say we fought for democracy, but we didn't benefit from it. You have been there. So what is your own assessment of 22 years of unbroken democracy in Nigeria?
Well, mixed feelings. Yes, Nigerians are a lot freer now in practicing democracy. You find out that there is multi-party democracy where people can associate with any party to win an election or to even be in opposition. And also people are much more freer, just like what my colleague said, to even abuse your leaders. I mean, you know, back in the days, probably you abuse your leaders, you will end up in jail. But now, not only abusing leaders, people are so free to even sometimes go and destruct properties, and the government allowing them, all in the name of freedom and so on. These things probably during the military, people would have been gunned down, you know. And also, if nothing, people are held accountable in such a way that there are processes where leaders can be held accountable. Like members of legislature, if any member is not performing, can be recalled back, can be taken, the constituents can ask questions and so on. So there is participatory democracy now whereby people take part in governance. People decide what happens to them. People ask questions. People, you know, participate in doing things. But whether there are challenges to these things, yes, there are. There are some excesses from politicians as well, where probably still is teething problems that we've had from the military. You find in some cases some governors, probably most of the governors, behaving as if they are sole administrators, where if you look at the difference between the national, you know, the presidency and the governors, a lot of differences. The Speaker, House of Representatives, or the Senate President will not go and bow before Mr. President. No. It will never happen. But when you go to states, you find out that some of these state legislatures are extension of government houses. Speakers are, you know, nominated and elected at the whims and caprices of governors. And also when you come to like local government administration, you find out that still there are issues where the governors have not really freed the local governments to work. So these are some of the teething problems that the democracy has also, you know, come with, which I think probably time will come when we, the people of this country, will amend this constitution in such a way that the local governments will be given powers. Also, we, the people of this country, will decide to change in the constitution where probably elections into local government offices shall not be or will not be conducted by states, because now it's just a joke across party lines, where if APC is ruling a state, it is presumed everybody will be of APC. That makes nonsense of the democracy we're practicing. So these are some of the things that as a people we need to look at and ask questions, and probably, you know, when we try to amend the constitution. So these are some things that we should look at. What are the things that so-called democracy, the democracy we're practicing? If members of National Assembly can stand on the floor and castigate Mr. President, call him all sorts of names. If any member of State Assembly
you can
tries anything like that, probably the next day he will be taken out. I know in some states where certain members of State Assembly are banned from being in the houses because of their disagreement with governors. So these issues part of the problems we have in the freedom of the 22-year democracy we're practicing. So these are things that we, the people of this country, need to look at. One, ensure we amend this constitution, at least to make sure the local governments have autonomy, to ensure that we don't allow the governors decide on, because, the constitution, our constitution sadly speaks from both sides of the cheeks, speak about, the local government administration, put in the governor, joint account, and so on, these kind of things. So these are some of the things that as a people we need to look at, and to ensure that democracy is open, it's transparent, more transparent than what we are practicing now.
Thank you so much. Let's go to Senator Jonathan Salas Singina. Distinguished, you have been there in the trenches and all through, and eventually, when democracy returned, you served as a senator. Let's get your perspectives, your own assessment. How do you assess 22 years of democratic rule, unbroken, in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. Good evening, viewers, and thank you for this opportunity to take part in this discussion. The first thing I would say is that we tend to underrate our achievements and look down on the gains that we have made. But if we look carefully, knowing that no democracy is perfect, and that not even the United States that can be said to be perfect. We had an election in which somebody is still contesting it. Now, I think we have had 5 major institutions of our democratic practice. The first, of course, is the National Assembly, although some people would say the presidency, but it is the National Assembly that set the rules. The National Assembly has gone through several phases and had changes in its leadership, and which is a mark of the flexibility and the ability of that National Assembly and that body to remain intact despite changes in its leadership. There have been times when National Assemblies were regarded as being pocketed by the executive, and yet there are times when they were regarded as being confrontational, which in itself good, because that means that there have been pros and cons of the National Assembly, and the National Assembly has been consistent. There were times when the executive tried to frustrate the Assembly, abort its sittings, block the gates, lock out the leaders, but they did not succeed. That is a measure of success, of the coherence, of the endurance, and of the stability of that assembly. The second institution is the executive. Of course, because of the military tradition, the executive had a longer history and therefore had better ways to practice its art and also practice how to dominate the other arms. And they have not done badly either. They've tried and tried and tried, but in fairness to the other arms of government, many of the attempts to fizzle them have not succeeded. If you remember the third term, there was an attempt by the executive to get the National Assembly to muzzle it and go by its wishes. That did not happen, thanks to the durability and the strength of the institution of the National Assembly as opposed to the executive. And the executive has done well because they have had changes in their composition, they have changes in the presidency, they have changes, and yet we went along. No one had disrupted it. The third arm of government is the judiciary. We've had so many turnovers in the justices of the country, right from the state to the federal. And we have had cases that overturned the wishes of government. We have had cases that went against the decisions of other tribunals or even state governments and others. And we have had cases that appear to have gone along what government wanted. But this mixture of responses is part of the strength of the judicial institution. And now that the institution will have financial independence, we are going to see a more virile, a more strengthened judicial system of government. The fourth arm is the press. Nowhere, in my view, has the press enjoyed uninhibited freedom to express itself and decide to criticize or praise governance, all arms of government, successfully as in Nigeria. In fact, the level of freedom here sometimes exceeds that of the United States, because in the US, there are some comments you would make. In fact, If you go into the US and as a journalist or editor, you allow a full praise of communism, you probably will not sleep in your bed. But in Nigeria, that can be done. Now, I also want to say that the fifth arm, which has not been common, but now is common, is civil society. Civil society groups have prospered under our democracy more than at any time in our history, and indeed at any time in the history of the world. The civil society groups, they challenge even the institutions, they challenge the executive, they challenge the judiciary, they even go to court. And they have been they are composed of intelligent, well-researched, well-educated persons that put up challenges, and sometimes they are difficult to ignore. So these institutions form the bedrock of any successful democracy. And for this, I think we have done very, very well, far better than our adversaries are willing to concede.
Thank you so much, distinguished. Basil Onyachanam Onora, let's take your perspective. 22 years of unbroken democracy in Nigeria.
Thank you, viewers. Well, we must have to tell ourselves the truth. The truth of the matter is that Nigeria has nothing to celebrate after 22 years of democracy. We have to look at the basic thing that, you know, we consider to be democracy. That is the government of the people, where the people exercises the power either directly or through elected representatives. And if you take a cursory look at Nigerian democracy today, one will give glory to God that we are alive, that at least we have our lives. And if we take a cursory look at the impact, the achievement, if actually we are on the side of, on the path of growth, we will tell ourselves that it's a disappointment. What we have witnessed so far in the country is a disappointment. After 22 years, our youth cannot gain job employment. You see our youth all over the street. Today you talk of banditry, today you talk of kidnapping, today you talk of all manner of social vices in almost every part of the country. Since 6th of April 2021, the judiciary has been on strike. The Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSUN. This JUSUN just resumed today. And you are talking of democracy, where the judiciary, the arm, you know, the judiciary has been said in very vocal manner that it is the last hope of a common man. And the judiciary, up to this extent in Nigeria, cannot even defend its own hope, let alone talking of that of the common man. So I think after 22 years of democracy, we should have come to a standpoint whereby we can say, yes, our economy has been able to thrive to a certain level of expectation. The level of corruption in this country is unimaginable. And if we must tell ourselves the truth, Nigeria has nothing to celebrate after 22 years of democracy.
Thank you so much. Well, naturally, anybody will know that democracy is a journey. Like I will ask this at times, is the beauty of democracy really beautiful? And when I threw the question across, you notice everybody spoke, and Basil had a twist to it. But democracy and nation building. If you listen to the potpourri of views so far, you now know that truly democracy is beautiful, because Itana has said, Farouk has said, Zungina has said, and Basil has said, if you look at it, cross-cultural opinion. Now, let's move on. Now we are here, 22 years of unbroken democracy. Democracy and nation building. With all what we have said, let's look at one clearly. Participatory democracy. If democracy is a way of life, it's evolving, it has no destination, but we are surely heading somewhere. How would participatory democracy assist in nation building?
Let me participatory democracy assisting in nation building. I think we'll have to large on from the point that my Ohanese brother has spoken. I think I will urge my brother, the youth of Ohanese, the gentleman, that let him draw a distinction between the role of the federal government and the role of the state government and the role of the local government. And let him also draw a distinction between the practice of democracy at the state and local government level and what is happening at the federal level. At the federal level, we have defined accountable political system where the president, the vice president cannot do certain things. The Senate president, the speaker cannot do certain things. Like my colleague Cognate had said, that you cannot have a situation where the Senate president or the speaker go to say, kowtow to the president and say, this is what the president wants, we'll do it. No. But at the House of Assembly, it will always say, waiting Oga talk, waiting Oga talk. All of us, waiting Oga talk. In my language, they say a table there. That is what does Baba say. That is the only thing they'll do. You know, they won't go into the nitty-gritty to find out what is the right thing to be done, different from or in accordance with what the governor wants. And so there is no accountability and there is almost no governance at that level. At that level of the state, with respect to their excellency, the governors, there is autocracy, there is sole administration, there is no democracy, there is no participation of the people. You don't have an executive council that can stand up and challenge what the governor wants. Here at the federal level, a minister can bring a memo on a matter and other ministers will contribute, looking at the face of the president, and they will say, this one cannot go. At the state, at the federal level, any memo you bring on any matter that is about a contract or a program, there must be an employment content. How many jobs will it generate? How many people will it take out of? How will it protect our currency? Those are the templates. You must say that. And in the course of that execution of that job, those things are tackled to make sure it is done. But at the state level, you can never see those things. At the state level, you can never hear the cost of a project. I will challenge, I think it's only one state in South that will award a contract and announce the contract. You will not know the contractor of a project. You will not even see signboard. If you see the one they make in stone, and then you will not see the details of who the contractor or what the project is about, how many kilometers, when it is did it, how much is it, how much per kilometer, who is the contractor. But at the federal level, you have to, and the House of Representatives will call you, you finish from there, the Senate will call you, you finish from there, the leadership will call you, you finish from that, EFCC will call you, you finish from there, NFIU will call you, but it doesn't happen at the state level. So when my brother is talking that there is some disappointment, please let's draw a distinction between the practice at the federal level and put pressure on the practice at the state level. Because a lot of people, whenever anything is wrong, they don't think whether it is caused by the local government or caused by the states. They will point finger and then say Buhari, they will say federal government. We are running a democracy. Now you've talked of participatory democracy. It is very participatory at the federal level. Very, very. There is, before you conceive a project, you'll have to design it. You'll have to have fund provided for it. You'll have to have, you have to spread it. You make sure that the program and the project you want to do covers all parts of the country. If you are doing a project in the railway or in the water sector in one area, you'll find the project that will satisfy another area. At the National Assembly, we used to have a situation where you will have, when you have any project, you make sure it spreads, you know. In 2017, Kabiru Gaya took on the Minister of Works, you know, the Babatunde Fashola, His Excellency Babatunde Fashola, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. And what was it? I was advisor on National Assembly, Senior Special Assistant to the President and in charge of Senate. And what were the real issues between them? It was, this project you've brought, this is your budget. How much have you made available to Northwest? How much is going to Southwest? What is the content for Southeast? What is it for South-South? It was a matter that was very heavy between Kabiru Gaya as chairman of Works and the entire Works Committee and His Excellency Fashola, the Minister of Works, Power and Housing as at then. And they were able to sit, they locked the door, and they had to tweak and agree that there has to be a rework of it. And this happened first at the pre-hearing before the budget was done, and after the budget was submitted. They still had to agree. Now, if Southeast has the second Niger bridge, that is a lot, but they still need a few things. So there is this participation to make sure that at the federal level, things are spread. At the state level, whenever anybody becomes governor, his village must have the biggest skyscraper. His village must have all the industries of that state funded by this must be in their village, even if it is not needed. They will have light. So they don't spread things to all other areas. And when another person comes, he just takes it there. And no House of Assembly asked. When you get to the House of Assembly only passes 3 or 4 copies of the budget. You can't have the budget of the House of Assembly online. You can't have the budget of the House of Assembly with every member of the House. I challenge every member of the House of Assembly. Let them produce the copy of the budget, or even the vote and proceedings of the budget.
Let me just hold it there. Let me intercept
it is, let my brother draw a distinction between the practice at the federal level and at the state. And let us learn to put pressure on the state level, because that is where we are having all these problems, which is now credited as against the federal government.
Thank you so much. Now, democracy, and by all intent and purpose, Nigeria is a democratic system, clearly. Federal, state, even at the local government, where there are elections, we are supposed to be practicing the presidential system. You have the chairman and supervisory councillors. You have elected councillors who form the legislature, and you even have the judiciary there. Now, from what Senator Itana has said, democracy and nation building, where lies the strength of institutions? Because if there are institutions with extant laws guiding the operations and principles of governance, why would some person usurp powers and they're not called to order? So, democracy and nation building, the strength of institutions.
Well, a lot of problems, really. You find out that, sadly, those institutions work more at the federal level. Because there are in some states, even the chief justices of the states are decided, who becomes the chief judge is decided by the governor. I have seen in some states in this country where judges that ought not to be the chief judges are now, presently, in some states in this country. At the federal level, the president dares not.
He dares not.
Dares not decide who becomes the chief judge of this country. So it happens. And when you still go back to the states, my brother, Basil, I pray he is from Enugu State. I pray so. I don't know where he's from. But I have seen in Enugu State, when Chimaroke Nnamani was the governor, you will see a project. I saw it in Enugu. Road from Enugu to Nsukka. Client, Chimaroke Nnamani. Client, the governor. Governor's name, as client. These kind of things happen in states. And so if we as a people don't come together and check the excesses, because look, any problem in this country is the president. Whether Jonathan, Obasanjo, anybody, including the president. So you find out that whenever there is a problem, even in your house, you will say it's the fault of the president. Like now, Buhari, every problem is Buhari. We have forgotten the fact that at the local government level, where local governments don't do nothing but pay salaries. So probably if there are security challenges, they are supposed to be the first respondents, but they have no resources to do anything. And you will find out that the problem will be heaped at the federal level. So when we talk about the strength of the institutions, as long as we don't make sure the semblance of duties from the nation, from the national, goes down, trickles down. And how will that happen? By the people insisting, doing the best, insisting, first of all, elect the right people, the right caliber of people. Because when the public know that a governor cannot even suspend member of House Assembly, when the members of the state assemblies are holding their governors accountable, when the members of state assembly or the judiciary, because look, I know in certain states also that some judgments are done in government houses, sadly, but I tell you, here, at least whether when Jonathan was around, or Obasanjo, or Adua, or Buhari, they cannot decide what happens.
That's why I asked the question, where lies the institutions? The institutions are guided by law on what to do. If a public officer elected or appointed is not following the etiquette or guidelines, so where is the place of institutions?
Well, you see that there are sanctions. Let's say at the judiciary level, you have the National Judicial Council, where you sanction judicial officers where they go wrong. At the National Assembly level, you have recall. That's why I told you. I am one of the victims of recall in this country. I mean, there was an attempt to recall me, because it was all put in the Constitution to ensure that that is done. And then at the level of governors or the president, the members of State Assembly can impeach a governor. In this country, governors were impeached. In this country, when I was there, we attempted to impeach Obasanjo. Yes. We did severally. And even recently, I had them making noise trying to impeach Buhari. That's also a deterrence. So whenever the members of National Assembly, or State Assembly, start holding the executive accountable to make sure that if a governor errs, they should make sure they sanction him. Now, where the people will come, the people to ensure their elected officials do the right thing. Also, where the masses are at fault is when they don't ask their members, what is a bill, what's a motion, how do we do this? When they come to you, they ask you about, well, my son needs to go to school, we have to pay my hospital bills, and so on and so forth. So as a people also, we need to buckle up. But I am telling you, my brother should know that there is a lot of progress in this country. We have everything to celebrate. That's why he is on NTA, National Station of Nigerian government, headed, under Minister of Information. He can sit here and castigate which is right. And I love the way he's doing it. That's freedom. Yeah. If it's during military, probably when we go outside now, he'll be taken away. But now he has freedom. So we have really progressed in this country. So my brother Basil, when we go out, I'll take you for a drink so that to ensure that we are free to be where we are now.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes. Let's go to Senator Zingira. Senator Zingira, given what is on the floor right now, which way forward? Democracy and nations building. If we have institutions, people are elected to public office, people are appointed to public office, and institutions are there to guide, to direct national goals, and these institutions are not very, very strong. Let me come from this direction. We are practicing democracy in Nigeria towards development. A guest sometimes said, as much as there are loopholes, there are shortcomings, and here is an evolving process. It's a way of life that is building towards a culture. So, subnational and national governments, how do we put all this together to get it working the way it should be?
Let me say that when we're having a discussion such as this, in a large country with so many issues as confront us, we must learn to look at the big picture. And the big picture really is that democracy is not perfect, but democracy is walking towards a road that we eventually want in the future. We should realize that this democracy came through an institution called the Constitution, which itself was packaged in 1999. Actually, in the first institution, the first constitution that generated this constitution that we are operating today was in 1979. And in 1999, the constitution continues to remain the same. Even when Nikki Toby report panel was set up, the panel itself admitted that Nigerians wanted the same of 1979. But what has been going on between 1999 and the present has been a large number of amendments that have come to correct some of the complaints that my colleagues on this panel have been making. At the initial level, there was definitely a certain element of totalitarianism at the state level, even at the national level. In fact, I do remember when we were in the Senate that some governors were impeached wrongly. Some members of the assembly also impeached wrongly. But with time and the contestation at the judiciary, those were corrected. Nobody today can wake up and put up a panel, kangaroo panel, reduce the number of House of Assembly members, impeach a governor, because the Supreme Court has made a ruling on that. So progress has been made. Second progress being made is the checkmate on the powers of the executive. Executive Order number 10, which gives effect to the constitutional amendment which was done by the 2018 Constitution, in which the state legislatures were given financial autonomy, the judiciary was given financial autonomy, in which we have had provisions there that will ensure local governments were independent. Now, the current strikes going on have to do with the implementation of these constitutional amendments. And when these constitutional amendments come into force, the state assemblies will become freer and more independent. I will not be rubber stamped, as my colleague Senator Itai Nang has accurately described them. The judiciary will become less fearsome, and governors will not sit down and appoint a judge, a junior judge, a junior member of the judiciary in the state to become the chief judge, whereas the more senior is bypassed. These changes are coming. And let me tell viewers, the changes we are making in our constitutional order are far faster, in fact, more regular than have ever happened, even in the American Constitution. The American Constitution takes years before changes can come. And here we are making these changes. I make bold to say that the restructuring we're talking about can be achieved even through the instrumentality of the National Assembly. All that requires is a unanimity of purpose to ensure that these matters are taken there and a vote is taken. Members of the constituencies pressurize their members, their senators, to support what is being done. I know that there are other people who feel that the National Assembly may not have the appropriate authority to change the constitution since they are beneficiaries, and therefore we should go to a referendum. We cannot go to a referendum, and the reason is simple. A referendum is not the best instrument for public policy discussion. Referendum is a place for yes or no, one or two. The matters that we are challenging, we are canvassing, we are trying to amend, are beyond yes or no, one or two. There are so many that only a parliamentary institution or a constituent assembly set up for that purpose can bring it about. And if you bypass the National Assembly and go to the constituent assembly, after which the matter comes back to the National Assembly may turn it around and put it the way it wants so that tomorrow you will not bypass them. So it's very important to realize that in the 22 years, we have had so many amendments correcting the defects of the 1979 constitution. And we should commend ourselves for having the courage, the flexibility, the support of the populace to have these changes, some of which have come about by the pressure of civil society groups, some of which have come about by judicial pronouncements, some of which have come about by prominent Nigerians. And I think we should not ignore that. Yes, there are certain defects in the system. For example, my colleague here has mentioned the issue of security, mentioned the issue of joblessness, mentioned the issue of infrastructure and the rest. Yes, but these are prevalent everywhere. Insecurity, I think insecurity, if you look at insecurity seriously, I'm ready to argue that the insecurity we have in Nigeria should be reduced. But that compared to United States, if you look at the level of mortalities arising from insecurity, there is so much more in the US than we have here, so much more in America and in South Africa than we have here. I'm not saying that it is good, but that it is a universal affliction. And what we need to do is amend the Constitution and provide for security at the local government level, state level, national level. We are under-policed, for instance. All we need here is a true federation must have federal police, state police, local government police, and institutional police. Every university should have its own policeman. Every local government should have its own policeman. Every state should have its own police force. There is no agency that can make law without enforcement capacity that can be regarded as independent. So these are defaults. And I think with the trend of debate in Nigeria, by the time we have the state police, and what we need is a Marshall Plan. We must be able to say we employ a massive employment in order to check the dwindling number of the policemen. The policemen we have on ground are few, and even the few are divided between policing public officers, policing the banks, and policing crime. So we need to increase the number. By the time we increase the number of the police and even the military, we will drastically reduce unemployment in the process and drastically reduce crime at the same time. And this can only come through constitutional amendments that are now going on. And we should support this. We should not try to set aside the constitutional amendment process. Or I've seen it in the media. Oh, let's not have that waste of time. Get a referendum. You know, the way they talk as if it will come by military fiat, it cannot. We have to follow the constitutional process. So we are doing well. We are not perfect. Don't misquote me. And what we are doing can be improved upon. Agreed. But we are on the right road because the amendments are going. I'm happy the president directed those asking for restructuring to go to the National Assembly. And truly, that's where they should go. Where else? Can the president sit down and use Executive Order number 20 and create regions? He cannot. You have to go to the National Assembly. And that is where people should go. The National Assembly was elected by people. And if you want the National Assembly to have a Constituent Assembly, they will make a law to set up a Constituent Assembly and create a discussion based purely on the amendment of the Constitution, just like the 2014 Constitutional Conference was done. Give it legal backing, because that one had no legal backing. That way, Nigeria will move forward. We underrate the progress we made, 22 years only. And we have gone this far in changing the Constitution several times. We can even do more. I'm sure in the next 50 years, God willing, there will be enough changes that will guarantee us a certain modicum of balance and respectability among the checks and balances and even the security. The issue of security is so bad because we are substantially under-policed. The criminals are more in number than the police force. They have more sophisticated weapons than the police force. How do we expect the police to secure us? They can't even secure themselves. Some remove their uniforms if they see evidence of attacks. So we need to help them by making sure we take the right policy. And I think with time, state police is an inevitability and has to come. Local government police can come later. Institutional police will eventually also come later. As for finances, even today, the police have been financed largely by states, except salaries that are paid by the federal government. The states are the ones providing funding for housing, for operations, for vehicles, for communications. This can also be done for the state police. this fear that, oh, no, somebody will overuse. State police does not abolish federal police. There will be federal crimes that federal police can handle. State crimes that state police can handle. Local government crimes that local government police can handle. If a state governor is running away with state police and trying to be unruly, the federal police is there to check it. Even the military can check it. So I think we should look in the direction of amending our constitution to go along with what we think is relevant, current to our times, and not condemn the entire system as if it's irrelevant. We have made some good progress and we can do better, but let's stay within the prism of the constitutional process and be patient and not expect to build Rome in a day. Rome was never built in a day. It can be destroyed in a day, but can never be built in a day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And quickly, let's go to Basil. Basil, you are the President General of Ohanaeze Ndigbo General Assembly worldwide. The people, between government and the people, there's a social contract. Heading an organization of this magnitude, what is Ohanaeze Ndigbo General Assembly doing to add value to governance?
Thank you very much. You see, there is no doubt of this very fact that democracy is the best form of government. And we are talking about 22 years of democracy in Nigeria. And how do you assess your democracy? You assess your democracy by the dividends you've derived from that democracy. You see, as the President General of Ohanaeze Ndigbo General Assembly worldwide, I am pained. I am seriously pained that after during a period of 22 years of our independence, we cannot sincerely say that we are moving forward. You see, in Nigeria, we are very good at formulating wonderful policies, but we are also very bad at policy implementation. You get the best brain to formulate policies, and when it comes to the time of execution, you engage persons that lack knowledge or idea or vision of what our policies are all about. You see, as a socio-cultural organization, one of our brothers speaking tonight made mention about, you assess at the angle of what the federal government has done at the state level and at the local government level. If you come to let me say, the Southeast region, presently, our local government are not functioning. Our local government are not functioning. And in this country, we take a look at the NSAS protest that the president spoke very well as a father of the nation, addressed the young men protesting. Please, as a father, I am going to look into your problems. And at the various states, panels were set up. Until today, those panels, where are they today? In Nigeria, you set up a panel, and you also set up a panel again to investigate what that panel has achieved. So when you're looking at nation building and democracy so far, we have to ask ourselves, what are the dividends that we have derived from Nigerian democracy? Fundamentally, the constitution of this country has to be reviewed very critically, because I think the constitution is the foundation of our democracy. And with the way things are going, everybody needs to contribute his or her own quota. The government, the organ that oversees the administration in the country, the government on its own part has, to a reasonable extent, performed. But fundamentally, we are not moving forward. You take a look at Ghana today, and you can talk of uninterrupted power supply in a country like Ghana. And in Nigeria here, our people are being exploited on a daily basis. We don't even know what is going on about power. One of the major problems we have in this country is misplacement of priorities. Today, you can tell the several billions of dollars the government has invested in railway infrastructure. And those are railway, are they actually working? If you invest such billions of dollars in creating job employment in this country,
at this point, we have to say that everybody should contribute its own quota. And if the Constitution is eventually amended and the checks and balances in place are not properly defined, will it work? We'll take some reports now, take a break, and when we come back, we'll sustain the conversation. First report tonight is coming from Maiduguri.
The most beautiful thing about democracy is it's all about the people vested with power to form or discard a government through ballots, in addition to freedoms and other dividends being enjoyed.
We have seen uninterrupted democracy, uninterrupted peaceful handover of power from one ruling party to an opposition is another indicator of political maturity.
Given the kind of humongous challenge Nigeria has seen, other countries would have gone into pieces, but you can still see people going about their normal businesses, even in a place like Maiduguri.
Although the process of growing to maturity stage in democracy is not free of challenges, yet it remains the best system that guarantees freedoms, fair play and equality before the law.
It's close to 22 years now we have been practicing democracy. The shining light is there. Unfortunately, the saboteurs are at it. But with quality leadership delivered by President Buhari, he will overcome it.
It is a shame for those that were elected democratically to wantonly loot the resources of the country by making the country bankrupt.
Democracy has delivered a lot of evident dividends at all levels, such as critical infrastructure, social and natural justice, information and communication technology, as well as many women and youth empowerment programs were created for self-sustainability.
A lot of people, when they come down to Maiduguri, they are shocked and surprised that in spite of all these bombs and bullets and all these other things, things are working so well. Granted, there is a lot of unemployment here and there, but even His Excellency Governor Zulum doing a lot of good work. You could see genuineness.
A lot of incentives have been provided to small-scale, traders, people who fry. Cause let me take it now to the grassroots. They were given some token. They have never witnessed this.
Nigeria need to emphasize, to reorganize the political culture. You are Igbo, I am Kanuri, he is Fulani, he is Yoruba. All of us are federating units within the federal structure.
Since democratic system sees the people as the major stakeholders in governance, the leaders were urged to live up to their mandate and people expectation for sustainable practices in the country.
We proceed to Port Harcourt.
After years of military rule, Nigeria peacefully transited to democracy in 1999. Since then, leaders with great aspirations and goals have emerged to set the country on high pedestal. With oil as the main source of revenue, the democratic leadership over time embarked on the Herculean task of diversifying the economy. This became realistic in the implementation of various policies and programs such as National Development Plan, Amnesty Program, Social Intervention Program, SHOPI, NPower, Trader Money, Economic Sustainability Stimulus Plan, and Anchor Borrowers, all geared towards developing critical sectors of the economy, especially agriculture and manpower development.
Every nation is like an individual. They all have trying times, and Nigeria is having its own trying times now. For the fact that things are not actually in the right place and the right scheme of things does not mean Nigeria will not jack back.
If you go to the states, you can see visible developments. For the very first time, most of River States has been given roads. The last administration did well, and this new one is doing well.
The democratic dispensation in Nigeria, despite its recorded successes, has no doubt been threatened by corruption, rising insecurity across the country, unstable electoral processes, infrastructure decay, poor power supply, and poverty. These stakeholders say may impede the practice of democracy. Stakeholders believe that adopting the right strategies and policies to curb these vices in the country and also being proactive in using modern technological advancements and innovations will help mitigate these challenges.
I provide light for myself. I provide water for myself. Even where I live, we construct the streets. We pay money to construct the street. And these are by the social contract principle, despite the economic challenges.
We are saying that as part of the reflection of what democracy entails, Nigerian leaders should subject themselves to proper democratic tenets.
While commending subsequent administrations for the smooth and peaceful rule, emphasis should be placed on national integration, which is one of the basic dividends expected of any democratic system.
Democracy and nation building is the focus tonight. We take a break. When we return, the conversation continues.
Struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Together, no matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together. Let's stop fighting each other. Let us live as one. It doesn't matter where you come from, your tribe or religion, man, woman or child. It doesn't matter who you are. Put Nigeria first. No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together.
How can we develop when we're always in crisis? Families have become refugees in their country. No matter our differences, show some understanding.
No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Democracy and nation building is the focus tonight. We'll look at a couple of issues: security, economy, name it. But governance is said to be a continuum. And between 1999 to date, there has been this, let's say, like a crow flies, continuity, sustainability. Has there been this seen through visibly or through? Let's say, for instance, the last 6 years, has there been any modicum of a sustained flow of projects, policies from somewhere to where we are right now? Let's look at it. Sustainability of programs.
Yeah, a government is a continuum. Its government is continuous, and every government that comes in is not starting a government. You're just building on what has been built before. You remember that the Obasanjo administration, President Obasanjo administration, inherited some projects from the military. He completed them. And that also went with the others. He initiated other projects like the presidential initiative programs, the Lagos, Kano, the Lokoja, Abuja, Kaduna, Kano, the East-West Road. He didn't complete it. The Yar'Adua government came and inherited it with the Yar'Adua Jonathan administration. It hasn't been completed, but the Buhari administration is continuing the East-West Road. They're also continuing all other roads. Now, the railway programs were initiated, I think, around the first discussion started under the Obasanjo administration. But the first takeoff in terms of getting the funds came in during the Jonathan administration. But the launch off came in under President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. And I want to use this to say that my brother Basil, who said that he doesn't really see what has been the dividend of democracy or what this government has really achieved, that the president has commissioned and launched off railway in 4 stations in this country, live and personally. So if that is not an achievement, I wonder what then could ever be an achievement. Then you look at the educational policies. We had the 6334 system, then it has been modified. There was this challenge of funding primary education in 2003, 2004. We did an amendment because we knew that the federal government could not fund primary education because it's not part of their responsibilities. Now we say it has to come by way of counterpart funding. That is an ingenious way of coming through it because the children at that level at the primary school ordinarily are the responsibility of local government. But the federal government and the state government will be the victim when these children grow up and are not able to do well. They are citizens of Nigeria. So we now did that. And as of today, there is sustainability. That program is sustained. You still have the universal basic education. You find agricultural programs which were initiated by the previous government, those ones that were initiated and done by Abaruma as Minister of Agriculture and Water Resources under the Yar'Adua administration, the additional under Jonathan administration continued it, and the present Minister of Agriculture, Nanono, and the Minister of Water Resources, Engineer Suleiman, has also continued those. So it is a continuum, it is this thing, because it is not the money of the individual, it is the money of the government. This is at the federal level, again. But at the state level, you will see a governor coming to say, I must show that this is my time. They will abandon some state government projects. Some of them, they have taken loans to build this project. They will not allow that project to be completed. This is why we have some situation in the country where loans have failed. Because where a government takes loan to develop a program or a project, another government at the state level comes in, it will stop that project. It may not go to look at the fact that it was a loan, and that loan is running. He starts his own and will approach another bank locally and then take loan. Whereas the one that he got the National Assembly and the country to commit itself is still running. When he goes to the Federation account to collect money, that money is still being deducted. So you have sustainability at the federal government level, but you rarely have at the state government level, because at the state government level, more than many people want to start. But I must say that there are some also who reasonably do that. I can speak of Akwa Ibom State. I can speak of Cross River State, except in one project, the Tinapa project in Cross River State, which has suffered something. There is sustainability and continuation in respect of, you'll have Akwa Ibom State today as almost the most beautiful state in the south, because the concept that was designed by Obong Victor Atta government in of Obong, His Excellency Governor Godswill Akpabio came. He continued that those programs, except one of them, which we call the Science Park and so on.
Let's just proceed. Yeah.
And then you had when Udom Emmanuel came, he continued some of them, but he abandoned some of them important one too, which like the Tropicana project, which we had about a large amount of money, including loan on it, and then for 6 years, there is a hotel which has not been completed, but money of the state. So there is continuity at the federal level, almost non-stop. But in some states, they just select some, do it for the sake of it, and start their own.
Let me just hold you there and proceed to Farouk. Still talking about democracy and nation building, I quite agree that there are challenges. I quite agree that there are imperfections, but it's an evolving process heading to somewhere. Now, let's look clearly at the case of how do I put it now? Security. Security was a major concern. Okay, I hear I should go to, your camera is down now. Senator Sungina, please, let's address the issue of security. As much as there are imperfections, challenges, how best can we build on it?
Let me, at the risk of boring our listeners, let me repeat what I have said before. Security is a multidimensional responsibility. Security is a responsibility of the federal government, of the state government, of the local government, and of even the communities. All federations in the world, except Nigeria, have the various police agencies to execute their own laws. But here in Nigeria, we took the fashion of the military, where we thought that one police would be enough to implement the laws of the federal government, of the state government, and of the local government. That has to stop. Now, we are a population of about over 200 million, and we have a police force of almost about 400,000. Out of the 400,000, perhaps 200,000 are busy involved as orderlies, ADCs, guarding banks, guarding bullion vans, and things like that. And the remainder that will now police the other side are just very few. So we have a very small ratio of police civil society population. So we need to address, we cannot ignore it. We need to address that. I'm very happy that the National Economic Council, chaired by the Vice President, has accepted that the concept of police, state police, have to be implemented. All the governors, both of the southern and of the northern regions, all have accepted that we need state police. Until we have the state police, and the state police will augment federal police. They are not replacing the federal police. Let me repeat. They are not a replacement for the federal police. They are a complement of the federal police. And we also, at a certain stage, will require local government police. Now that the president has used Executive Order number 10 to compel the implementation of the independence of the local government, of the judiciary, and of the House of Assembly, credible people will start going to become chairmen of local governments. They will be credible and elderly and mature enough to handle funds and build not only a vigilante, but an official police force. In Europe, the universities have their own police carrying guns They don't shoot each other. They carry guns. We have to go back to a true federalism which has an implementation agency for each of its organs. And unless we do that, we will only be singing and singing. How do you expect the police, 400,000 only, to police 200 million population in as diverse a country as Nigeria? We're expecting the impossible from them and expecting them to do wonders. What we have mistakenly believed is that those in authority and are being guarded by police assume that everyone else is having the protection of the police. It's not the case. Most of the rural areas are totally without governmental presence, including police presence. That's why in some cases, we hear about bandits raiding an entire village, wiping almost all of it off. No single intervention from the police. The police are simply not there. The ones there are so few, with very feeble equipment. So let's be just realistic and do the right thing. Let's copy from other federations. It is not a rocket science that will be difficult. By the time you create that police and create it everywhere, governors are going to strengthen their police to protect their citizens. Unemployment will reduce. Criminality will also reduce. State, local governments will also have their own complement. Maybe they will start as a vigilante, but eventually mature into police. Unless we do that, we'll just be singing, and lives will be lost. I think we need to look at other federations, how they've run their affairs, how they've secured themselves, and do the same. There is no way we can be repeating the same mistakes and expecting a different solution. We just have to look at our neighbors, look at other federations, and do the same. That is the way, that is exactly what is meant by restructuring. It's not that we're going to destroy the whole place and rebuild. No, it's to amend all these things gradually, and we'll get to the El Dorado.
So much. Now, let's go to Basil. Basil, I know before we went on break, you did not address the question I asked you. I asked you, heading an ethnic nationality of the Bantu Ohanese Ndigbo, right?
Become a thing of the past as the nation recently marked 22 years of uninterrupted democratic rule and still counting.
The atmosphere is safer for economic, investment. It's a continuous process.
Lagos State has had a historic turning point since the return to democracy. This is reflected in several infrastructural projects. From the era of former governor of the state and current All Progressives Congress chieftain Bola Ahmed Tinubu through to the current Babajide Sanwo-Olu administration, the state has witnessed significant development in addition to the federal government intervention in areas of economic growth, health, transportation, education, agriculture, security, ICT, among other democratic dividends.
Lagos has become the leading light for Nigerian progressives, all of them coming together, irrespective of tribe, irrespective of ethnic, irrespective of religion.
I think it's a very responsive government, in my own assessment. All around the states is trying to touch the lives of the people.
The democratic journey, Lagosians say, has not been devoid of challenges.
Democracy should be able to get everybody on the same consensus in terms of your nation.
The beauty of democracy is self-reliance. That you are able to produce, contribute to society, and benefit from society. Not somebody directing you. Even the laws that direct you to behave this way and not that way is made by you and your colleagues. It's not diktat handed down by the all-knowing. No.
They recommend stronger collaborations between leaders and the led in tackling problems hampering democratic practice in the country.
But back to the program. Farouk, let me stay with you. I was about asking you a very pertinent question, which before the technical challenge came up, the issue of security. How best can we surmount so it does not affect the smooth flow of the democratic process?
Well, I think it is more of challenges, problems. From the government side, there are a lot of issues. Issues of what I'm saying, not just this government, within the 22 years of democracy. You find out that there are instances that the government was very high-handed in tackling security issues. There were times when government will send in military to invade cities or villages and so on. There were instances where also the government will treat serious issues with kid gloves. And so generally, just like what my colleague said, generally I think most of the problems are lack of equipment, lack of enough manpower, and political issues. Now, when we talk about security, if all of us look at it as a government problem, then there's a problem. Because security, it's for you and I. We are supposed to take part, to ensure we are secure. Why I say political? You find out that we are in a country that NSAS happened, which is political. Because of the freedom of association and freedom of democracy and freedom of speech, the youth came out for upwards of 3 weeks, maimed, looted places, killed policemen, razed police stations. And the government sat by, all in trying to allow people to express themselves. So I think to some extent the government took it too far by allowing the people to do whatever they wanted to do. But as the government said, it was probably because they wanted to show that, look, you are free to do whatever you want to do. Now, the other issue, we have a situation where across the country you have ethnic militias in some parts of the country where the politics of secessionism. As a people, we have our brothers in the southeastern part of this country that want to go, some of them. They want to secede. And the government of this country decided also to treat that issue with kid gloves. Because when it started, it was like a joke. And the government didn't take it serious. And it culminated into, us politicians, some of us, politicians, what I mean from maybe that part of the country, some see it as a situation where they can bargain for presidency. I believe in Igbo presidency. I believe Igbo should be given, a chance to produce a president of this country, but not through blackmail, intimidation, brigandage, or trying to secede. So in terms of security, now all of us as a nation have our faults. The government fault is by not striking hard the bandits, the Fulani herdsmen, the Indigo who are the ASN, or the Afenifere. Any ethnic nationality that will come out to preach violence should be hit hard by the government so that people will know that there is government in place. So that if there is any herder who carries a gun going about to kill people, he should be dealt with decisively. If there is any ESM who comes out in trying to secede, come out with the gun, he should be dealt decisively. Or if there is any an Ubo, or whatever his name, Sunday, coming out to say, look, we want to secede, go and kill these people, drive them from your part of the country. The government should take these things seriously, and I think the government needs to look at it critically. That look, why do these things happen? Now, if they happen, the government should come hard to make sure that people are not given opportunity to maim or to kill other ethnic nationalities. Because the constitution of this country guarantees freedom of movement. You, as a Fulani man, can take your cows to wherever you want. But there is proviso. You cannot, as a Fulani man, take your cows and go and start raping women, killing, stealing, kidnapping. You should be dealt with decisively. And now, if any, just like what the president said about grazing, the president never said that open grazing is allowed in this country. No. What he only said was that cattle routes are there. These cattle routes should not be encroached. And if any Fulani man goes astray or goes to any other person's farm, he should be sanctioned. But some people are saying that, well, the president said open grazing is allowed. Of course, the president did not say so, and the president cannot impose open grazing nationwide. Yes, he cannot do that. But then what happens to the grazing reserves that have been there from Nigeria when Nigeria was there? So generally, the security situation is, look, all of us have, certain blames to take. The government, by not being decisive, by the government by sitting by in trying, like Mr. President, who is a Democrat now, so he tries as much as possible not to be the military ruler he used to be. And in trying to do that, he overdoes that. Because in trying to not to be blamed for being hard, has put us in trouble in certain parts of the country. And I think he must have learned the hard way now. That's why he came out to say, look, we will speak in the language they understand. Criminals across the country, whether you are a Fulani man, whether you are an ESN, whether you are an Afenifere, the government will now speak in the language you understand, or a Boko Haram. So I think if the government continues to speak in that language, then the citizens cooperate with the government to ensure you reveal, you bring information, make sure where you see a criminal, when you see something, say something. Cooperate with the government, whichever government, whether Buhari's government, because look, government comes, government goes. Nigeria remains. So if you do things because APC is government now, one day you might be PDP, APC will not be in government forever. So let us be our brother's keeper. Let us make sure we cooperate with any government. If a PDP government is the one in a state, let us, all the members of the public in that state, cooperate with the government and ensure they secure us there. And then as a people, we should also be our brother's keepers. That first, we are what we are by birth. I didn't choose to be a Fulani man. My brother Itai Enang didn't choose to be an Ibibio man. You didn't also choose to be what you are. Zwingina didn't choose to be what he is. Basin, my brother, didn't choose to be. So, but we are all what we are. So why can't we attempt to see if we could live together?
Okay, thank you. Now, let's still talking about democracy. Nigeria's presidential system currently is fashioned after the United States model. And now constitutional amendment in the front burner. Is it possible in trying to fashion out an amended constitution, we'll come up with some peculiarities to the Nigerian democracy?
Yeah, please, before I
go
to
enhance development.
Yes, before I go there, please let me weigh in a little on this briefly on this question of security, particularly on the question that my brother has mentioned, the herdsmen and security crisis. I think that, I know that from what I understand from His Excellency, Mr. President, he did not endorse open grazing. What I also heard Mr. President say, in addition to what he said, is that the state governments have responsibility over these matters. And it is not the president alone that has said it. This question of herders, farmers crisis was not resolved by the southern governors. There is nothing new that's said by saying we don't allow open grazing. There is the National Economic Council, which all the governors sat and took a decision which they said in the National Animal Transformation Plan. That's number one. And so it is all the governors of the 36 states agreed on the National Animal Transformation Plan. Again, the question of land tenure and the farmers' herders was resolved in 1978 under the military government of President Obasanjo as at that time, where the Land Use Act was enacted. Under the Land Use Act is not only a law now, it's not one of the laws. It's not one of the ordinary acts of parliament. It is taken as part of the Constitution. And you cannot amend anything there without the process of amending the Constitution. So the Land Use Act says that the lands in the urban areas are vested in the governors. Land in the rural areas are vested in the local government. The Land Use Act 1978 also says that the local government and government must set out grazing reserves. Not grazing reserve for cow, cattle, or goat, or sheep, or pig, or something. It is grazing reserve for any animal, not for cow. That is. And it says that you should set out an area that there will be farming. If you don't like cow, set up a grazing reserve for goat, for sheep, for pig, for poultry, or set out an area for fishing if you don't like this animal. So that is in the Land Use Act. So the governors should take advantage of the provisions of the Land Use Act. I know that all the governors in the states, there is the Land Use and Allocation Committee in every state of the Federation. It is that committee at the state and local government that assigns lands for different purposes. When you take advantage of that, you would have an area set out for grazing. Now, the president only has authority over the Federal Capital Territory. And that authority is exercised through the Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. So what happens in the local government by when the states on this farmers' herders crisis, the governors of the respective state and the respective houses of assembly should pass laws that regulate this situation. If you say you allow it, you set out an area for grazing, that is an area for grazing. Make other things available. That is what the National Animal Transformation Plan was meant for. Yeah. Please, before I finally go to this Constitution amendment, please let me also weigh a little bit on this security, which Senator Zungina had raised and my brother Cognate has raised. There is something wrong with our security system, and the police is overused. And I want to apologize to say that the police is abused. The police is the lowest paid security of all the security forces. The police is the lowest paid. Yet, police is the highest engaged. I want to apologize, and please, okay, I don't want to apologize. I don't want to apologize. There are elitist security organizations who are so well taken care of. The SSS are well taken care of, the State Security Service. The other office of the Army are taken care of somehow. The Air Force are well taken care of. The Naval Social are well taken care of. Then, no, please.
Let's just hit the nail of the issue of...
I want us to come back and I want to suggest that Nigeria, we should have harmonized security services, salary, and emolument scale. So that if you are in the Army, in the police, in the Air Force, in the SSS, in the police, or the National Intelligence, you are assured of the same salary. Finally, I want to say that I almost wept, when I saw a commissioner of police in a state drive a 2008 Honda Accord with police flag as commissioner of police. It's sad, but that doesn't happen in any other service. 2008 Honda Accord. Okay, I come back to the U.S. model amendment of the Constitution. Well, I wouldn't want us to say, look, we want to adopt a kind of model of the Constitution. Let us find what is it that is peculiar that will solve our problems. I want to say that our problem is not amendment to the Constitution. Our problem is not inadequacies in the amendments of the Constitution. Our problem is agreeing and implementing what is already in the provisions of the Constitution. If we are talking about restructuring today, the restructuring is give powers to the different persons or institutions or tiers of government which ought to. You've given power to the governor to do certain relationship with the House of Assembly. Give their money of the House of Assembly to the House of Assembly. Give the money of the judiciary to the judiciary. It is only, that is at the state level. At the federal level, there is full restructuring and implementation. At the state level, there is none. That is why Mr. President had to issue Executive Order 10 for the implementation of this. And I pray that Mr. President, as we finish this one, would try to take steps in addition to the powers of the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Agency, take other steps to make sure the local governments are free. Now, the problem is not amendment of the Constitution, but what we are doing now is just allowing Nigerians express themselves. Nigerians want to talk about restructuring, but what the National Assembly has done is to say, look, if you want restructuring, like Mr. President has said, come and talk to us. Say, how do you want the structuring? Is there any of these provisions which had been attended to, which was not, which has been amended, which was not implemented? Or is there anything that we can add to it to really reflect what you want? As a party, the APC, the party set up a committee under El-Rufai on the restructuring and the amendment. I want, as the National Assembly is going on this, let them look at those recommendations and go on. The amendments that the National Assembly is doing now, I like the level that the way they have syndicated it from the state level, from the local government level to the federal constituency, to the senatorial, to the state level, to the zonal level, and they have done the one at the federal level. Every person should go there. I will not want to conclude whether we want to have the improve upon the American model, because the one we have is our model. Because certain things in what you have in the American model is not in our own because of our peculiarities. And of course, we also have certain of the things that we adopted from our inherited parliamentary system. Okay. So it is not what we do in the Constitution. It is adhering to what is already there. Okay. It is obedience. And finally, it is obedience by the governors and at the state level.
Okay, thank you. Let's look at the issue of electoral governance within our democratic system. To Senator Zwingina now, electoral governance, how well can we improve on it to build on democracy and nation building?
By electoral governance, I suspect you are referring to the electoral institutions, that is INEC, and then the law governing INEC, state INEC, and the rest. I think it's so obvious that we need to strengthen the electoral, the electoral institutions and ensure that they operate independent and also they have effective capacity to mobilize resources and deliver elections. I would like to say that there are two main things. One is, while we have INEC dealing with federal and state elections, I think that INEC should be given authority to also extend to state elections, because otherwise state elections have become like the personal preserve of governors, and election results are actually announced at the local state headquarters and they are announced to whichever party is in office. That has to go by making sure that the state INECs are either abolished in favor of the National Independent Electoral Commission. Secondly, I would like to suggest that the independent national electoral commissions should be able to start practicing electronic voting, not immediately. They have to, through by-elections, local government elections, and other elections, begin to practice by the electronic voting so that we limit the time we wait for results. Thirdly, we have to limit the judiciary from announcing results for us, choosing governors for us, choosing the elected officials for us, members of the House, members of the National Assembly for us. The judiciary should be limited to adjudicating with respect to an election conducted. If the judiciary finds that election unsatisfactory or less than satisfactory, it should refer it back to INEC to conduct a fresh election. But people cannot go to election and choose candidate A and then wake up and find the judiciary has elevated candidate B as the governor, who was not elected. I think that should be specified through a constitutional amendment. I would like to say that we cannot avoid amending constitutions because this is where we change the fundamental laws to adjust to our peculiar situations, because the first fundamental law did not. So I think no judge or no court should be allowed to promulgate or announce a sitting candidate as duly elected. Every situation in which a candidate has not been adjudged to have emerged correctly should be referred back to the electorate to go back to the polls and choose somebody. That way, we will limit the cases that go to the tribunals, limit the cases that go to the courts of appeal, limit the cases that go to the court of the Supreme Court, so that we now have proper adjudication of electoral systems. And we should be able to provide adequate funding for the INEC so that they are not caught somewhere or they are not found deficient and therefore become susceptible to political leaders who may want to compromise them because of inadequate funding. I think these are some areas that we can learn from our brothers. India is more populated, more plural than we are, large in number, and yet they conduct electronic voting successfully. Nobody argues it. So we have to go there. We should not be ashamed of learning from that process. Go there, learn from it, and begin to practice it from local governments, from by-elections and others, until Nigerians learn to accept that an election can be conducted on Saturday before 12 noon. The election is finished. By 2 p.m., the results are announced. I think these are things that we can do to improve our electoral system.
Yes, well, we'll take the last report tonight. When we come back, we'll do the concluding part from Enugu.
Handover of the mantle of leadership to the civilian government by the military is described as the height of democratic process in Nigeria. Consequently, the agenda of successive governments in policies and programs impacted positively in the development of several sectors of the economy. For instance, Southeast geopolitical zone has benefited immensely in some of the federal government laudable projects like road rehabilitations, construction of the second Niger bridge at Onitsha, poverty reduction through several intervention programs like the Empower, Trade Money, and establishment of small and medium enterprise development agencies, MIDA, to engage and empower unemployed youths roaming the streets. The Anchor Borrowers programs in the agricultural sector has also empowered farmers to produce sufficient rice for the teeming population, thereby reducing importation of rice into the country.
We only thank God that at least we still have peace. Nigerians are very much patient enough. But in all, within these 22 years, there's no doubt that there has been a lot of development in infrastructure. There has been a very good development in road reconstruction.
In the area of power, there has been what I can say a stabilization in that sector. So that is an area we can say that they haven't done too poorly, but it can still be drastically improved for the benefit of all of us.
First place, let me thank God for granting us the opportunity to experience democracy up to 2 decades plus, uninterrupted. It's a great achievement on its own. However, we have a lot of tracks to still cover in terms of democracy and what it entails. For instance, this regime came in and brought in the issue of agriculture. Everybody was happy with that. Some youths that didn't have interest before began to develop interest and started going into the bush and bushes to cultivate and to do other agricultural stuff.
However, security challenges witnessed across the country is undermining efforts of governments and to a large extent poses a great danger to food security and sufficiency in the country. Respondents have advocated the centralization of power as a major solution so that various federated units can fight security threat from their localities so as to win the war against insurgency that is trying to mar the peace and unity of the nation.
Thank you so much. The report from Enugu is the last report for today, but let's continue now. Democracy and nation building, checks and balances. Let's look through how is it helping, mostly in the public governance process.
Well, checks and balances are part of indices of democracy. Now, you have the executive, you have the legislature, and you have the judiciary. and you have the people. Now, the Constitution is framed in such a way that the legislature is supposed to be on top of its game. It's supposed to ask questions. It's supposed to have oversight over what the government, what the executive is doing. And if all of them misbehave, the judiciary is there. So it is so important that without these checks and balances, there is no democracy. And that's why in the Constitution, there are ways to sanction. The National Assembly can impeach a president if he does anything wrong. National Assembly can call on members of the Executive Council to come and explain certain things. Where they're not satisfied, they pass a motion and so on. And where there is synergy, the executive arm takes drastic action on certain matters. So, and as I said also, if any one of them misbehave, the judiciary is there. So without checks and balances, there is no democracy. And then the people also, where the people do is like the issue of recall, as I said earlier. Now, the people down, the electorates, try to ensure that anybody who does not do the right thing is checked by recall. Whether the recall works or not, but it is there as a deterrence, so that you do the right thing. Then, but sadly, at the state level, we still come back to this state level. We still come back to state level, that we as a people need to come and make amendments where there will be more checks and balances at the state level, where a governor will be held accountable, where a governor could not hold the state to ransom. Because there are certain states that the whole state is an extension of government house. The state legislature, because in most of the states, you find out there are 2, 3, 4, 5 speakers that were changed. A governor will just sleep and dream that I have changed the speaker, and the speaker has changed, And also, as I said, I know some states where recently chief judges were taken from down the ladder and promoted to be, chief judges in the states, which is not supposed to be done like that, because so those kind of checks and balances has to be done honestly with the constitutional amendment to give more powers and to do such a thing that if a governor misbehaves, there would be easier way for the governor to go. Now, the electorate should also ensure you vote for the right people. Vote for independent people that you can hold accountable. Vote for the people that can go and work for you, to ensure that if any governor misbehaves, you can call him to order. But as at now, checks and balances at the lower level is really weak.
Okay. Let's now look at the people and governance, the people and the elite factor towards nation building within the democratic process.
Can I understand what the kind of thing that you refer to as elite factor? I know the people.
The elite factor, the elites have a role to play within the democratic process.
Yeah.
If they play it well, it moves on. If they don't play it well, it becomes a distraction.
Well, thank you very much. The people need to come up, and they do well at voting and bringing people into office. But after that, they don't do well in asking them to account, in asking the leaders to account. All they seem to be asking them for is something personal to them. They don't seem to ask, are you doing what I elected you well? And they don't seem to ask so many questions. And they look at they only perhaps look at the lifestyle of the members, which goes to the elite factor. Now, for those in power and in government, the most important is for them to accept that they are servants of the people and not masters of the people. When you are elected or when you choose public office, you get to a position where you have passed the stage of how am I going to pay the school fees of my children? That is why in the UK, before you could become a lord, you have gotten certain stage of personal needs. Now, the elites or the persons who are in government should know that being in government means service. It's not about yourself. It's about the people. It's not about what do I keep, what do I take back. It's about what do I give back or put in? How will I be remembered for how I have exercised the functions of this office? Public office holders should take this. And those who want to go into government, those who want to go into public service, have the kind of mindset that it is not about making money. It is not about making wealth. I read something yesterday night, and it was very touching, and the truth. A very wealthy man in the South was talking about that he has about 40 houses, or he has so many houses. One of them has 40 rooms, and he has about 2 sons, and he's saying, of all this, his sons are not interested. They're beginning to build their own empires. And he said, I am above 60 years old. Is it the time to go and start completing these houses and doing it? What am I going to do with it? Then that is facing the reality of life, that you don't need in public office or as an individual all that you are acquiring for yourself, that you should try and do all this, give it back to society. Make things so that you create employment for other people. Make sure that your next neighbor is able to eat, is able to send his children to school. Make sure that things are better for the society, because after all, what will you take back? And I want to conclude with one word that President Buhari used to say to me. He said, when I asked for a little, something like approval for an action to be taken, he will say, go and do the right thing. You will account to your God. So every person in public office, don't look at who is appointing you or something, or the people. Just know that you will account to your God.
Thank you so much.
If I may quickly add to the elite factor. I want the people of this country, the masses, to understand that the elites in this country are probably part of the problems. The elites are one and the same. I, a Fulani man, and my friend Itaenang Ibibio are one and the same. We're a family. We don't fight. We don't quarrel. So when there are issues in this country, it's probably either of us has lost out. You find out, I always give an example of what happened in Edo State. APC and PDP, connivance of the elites. Years back, we in APC said that Obaseki was the best thing, and so on and so forth. 3-4 years down the line, we also said he's the bad person, the worst person, and the other guy was the good person.
All by the elite.
So, so this is the elite. So the people should understand that the elites are one and the same. So they should try to sieve from what we say. Has somebody lost out before you start talking, you start raking, before you start talking about religion or ethnicity? If we look at it, then the elites, people will understand that the elite factor is the same. We are all the same, the elites.
Thank you so much. Let me quickly go to Senator Zungina. Senator Zungina, please, no time but just one sentence for Nigerians. Hope for tomorrow as the democratic process progresses.
My appeal to Nigerians is that we should be very patient but active in the development of the country and not sit back idly watching. We have to be patient and active. We should not expect things to happen overnight, but we should also not ignore what is going on. Regardless of your vocation, take active part in politics, in governance. If you don't, the person you don't want or the most incompetent person will overtake you, do it, and leave you with the complaints. Thank you.
Senator Jonathan Silas Zungina, it was nice having you on the program tonight. We also had Basil Onye Chona Onora, President General of NLNG. Thank you so much for being on the program.
Very much.
And here I have Senator Itaenang, just nice having you, and also Honorable Farouk Adamo. Thanks so much for being on the program.
Thank you.
That's it on Tuesday Live tonight. We looked at democracy and national development tonight. Thank you for your time. And on behalf of all of us, don't forget to support the NTA in the fight against rape and rapists to be a star. Bye-bye.
I never get this kind of thing, or I hear it.
Abuja Intra-Products Agency. They called me because we are partner with them. They say we should come. There is a survivor fund that the government wanted to give technicians.
They capture everybody, including food seller in my own workshop.
When my chairman called me that there is parity something, that I should come and take my cash off, the money now come, and that money helped me a lot. As a widow, where there is no husband. So it's this thing that I used to help myself, and that money helped me and pay some of my children's school fees.
You don't reach almost 40-something years back where I did for this Nigeria. I never get this kind of thing, or I hear it.
It is only this government, President Muhammadu Buhari, likewise in Vice, that he recognized a mechanic.
Lives are in your hands while you drive. Protect yourself and others on the road. Road Matters, shown on the network service of the NTA. Join us.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you in your living room, office, everywhere and anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel 91, Freeview UK channel 264, or you can download www.visiontv.co.uk. App for iOS or Android. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
This is the network service of the NTA.
The menace of wrong parking has continued to be of great concern to road users and the government. It not only increases road traffic accidents, it also makes free flow of traffic difficult. Many times government has come up with solutions. Still, indiscriminate parking has somehow become a norm. Some time ago in the FCT, parking meters were introduced. At that time, if one parks wrongly, one's vehicle is clamped, and for the device to be removed, you have to pay an amount of money. Well, that did not go as expected, as indiscriminate parking continues daily. How can this be put to an end? Welcome to Road Matters. I am Fatima Umar. Indiscriminate parking is like a norm in our society, as most states experience this menace. In Ibadan, Oyo State, the pace-setter state, it is a daily occurrence. People park their vehicles without thinking of the consequences. Bumi Adeyemo will take us through.
The role of transport in our daily activities cannot be overemphasized, and without it, the necessities of life would be difficult to achieve. As wonderful as the role of transport may be in our daily activities, it has been noted to possess myriads of negative effects. Cities function as commercial and industrial centers. Buses, trucks, and cars move goods and passengers in and out of cities on a daily basis. Parking is vital to ensure people have access to goods and services that they need, which is mostly hampered by indiscriminate parking. Indiscriminate parking of vehicles on roads and major highways and its adverse effect on human lives is not only risky but very dangerous.
The effect is that it causes, obstruction of traffic. It reduces the time of travel. It equally brings discomfort on the highway. Some other times it causes accidents and, road hazards.
Parking contributes to the appearance of cities and suburbs. It affects traffic operations and traffic congestion. It is one of the experiences that people have when traveling to a destination, and it plays a crucial role in managing traffic.